Warning! The Stone Age Gamer podcast includes a lot of bad language. Cover your motherfucking ears.
Good evening and welcome to the Stone Age Gamer podcast. I'm Kris Randazzo, and joining me tonight is more presidential flair than 9 out of 10 octogenarians, Dan Ryan.
Wow. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. I'd vote for you. It's time for the annual Stone Age Gamer State of the Union. Would it, though? Would it? I feel like there are worse choices out there.
No, it'd be real bad. I mean, it'd be fun, but it'd be real bad. I don't know what I'm doing.
Again, I feel like you still have a leg up. There's a lot going on with the various platform holders out there, and we're going to chronicle it right here. Because it's the State of the Union. The State of the Gaming Union. Is there any hope for Xbox's future? Stoke those console war flames because the Stone Age Gamer podcast starts now. Hi everyone, this is episode 505. It's the week of March 15th, 2024. I said starts now so sinisterly because I was running out of breath. How you doing, Dan?
Oh,
I didn't mean to go starts now, but I was just
starts now.
There was no time for me to breathe before it to say it naturally. You'd think after 505 episodes I'd have the hang of this, but I don't.
You would think so.
You'd be wrong.
If we're being honest, Kris, I am.
And if you should
miserable.
be one thing, it should be honest.
That's right. I'm miserable currently.
Poor Kay.
I have been plagued my entire life with canker sores. Do you know what canker sores are?
Yeah, enough.
Okay. Usually, I get them relatively frequently. I've gone through all the, let's try to find out all the reasons why, and food I shouldn't eat, and things I shouldn't do, and whatever, and none of it works. And usually, when I get them, they are on my gums. Right, usually down towards the base of the mouth area. The one I have currently is
the mouth you have
legitimately, yes. The canker sore that I have right now is currently under the tip of my tongue, and it fucking sucks. It is so painful, and has been for 3 days. And I'm just miserable, Kris.
That's where I'm at. That sounds terrible.
It really is. It's awful. Other than that, everything's great. But I was getting jealous of your mouth pain. So I decided to get, some of that for myself.
Oh, well, that's still here. I was hoping that the spot that they had bone filed would be healed over by now, but it does not appear to be the case. It does seem that that area is the bone is doing its thing and the gums aren't healing over it. So this week I'll be calling the old dentist, taking an hour drive out there again to see if we can't figure out how to close the hole in my gums so that I don't have my jawbone fucking exposed.
What the fuck, man? Shit's getting old.
I hate it.
It's getting old. It's getting old, man. Not a fucking fan.
Could not agree more, sir. I could not agree more. Now, granted, it stopped hurting, but I still can't chew on the left side of my mouth just because it's completely ineffective, and doing anything over there only makes the hole worse. It's I hate it.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the mouth pain. Thankfully, this endeavor that we partake in on Friday nights doesn't require a lot of talking. So
right, yeah,
it should be fine.
Should be
totally fine.
Not a problem for either of us. Good times. Other
than that, everything's great.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm doing
basement
okay.
Flooded this week. That was good.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Of course it did.
Was it flooded with cash?
Yes. It was awesome.
Right. We had all that rain this week. I forgot.
Yeah.
Well, wow. That's how bad and how flooded did you get?
It all collects in the laundry room. So it's really not all that bad. I just have to go down there with a lot of towels and a wet dry vac, but it just doesn't stop. Like if it is raining to the point, like once the water starts coming in, it doesn't stop until it's done raining. And it's like, yeah, I'll just keep putting towels down.
Basement doesn't have a sub pump sub.
Well, it's not sub. I mean, I say basement.
It's something else. It's not sub pump. Sump. Yeah, that's not okay. You shouldn't put sump pump together. Those two words should not be next to each other.
No,
whoever
they
came up
shouldn't.
with
It's
that
like
idea
the
is a
word
prick.
rural. You should change the word
What
rural.
an asshole. What an
It's
asshole
a fucking dumb name.
Came up with that word. How dare you? Rural.
You should call it fucking nowhere. That's what it should be changed to. You know, you have your urban areas, your suburban areas, your fucking nowhere areas. Like that works.
You've got urban, suburban, non-bourbon. Come on. Non-urban.
Naburban. Naburban is even a better fucking word than rural.
Yeah, that's easier to say than rural.
Especially if you try to say, like, in a rural area. You sound like fucking Kelsey Grammer in fucking X-Men. What? It's not her name. What did you just say at her? Anyway, I say basement. It's not really, but like I have a split level house, so it's like the downstairs. But like part of it is, you know, below the fucking ground, and it just sucks. It's not fun. It's been a long year this week, Chris. Tired.
I hear you. Not for the flooding reasons, but
tired. My mouth hurts. We did get 2 of the dogs adopted.
Oh, well, that's great.
So now we're down to 2 puppies and the mother. They've all decided, though, to really pick up for the 2 that we adopted out. They've been like, now we get to be even more rambunctious and loud, and I'm just tired, Chris. I'm tired.
I take it the dogs aren't absorbent enough to take care of your basement problem?
No, I did rub them all around in it, though. You fuckers, try. Do something. Make yourselves useful. It's like
dogs need to be more absorbent.
Skit. They really do. They really, really do. I don't know what God and baby Jesus were thinking when they designed them. You know, Lord works in mysterious ways, Chris, but apparently one of those ways was not making dogs fucking scrub daddies, and that upsets me. You go. Right. There's your episode title. The dog is not a scrub daddy. Oh, man. Yeah. That's where I'm at, Chris. That's where I'm at. It's been a long week. We watched fucking, I was mentioning it before we started the show. We watched Poor Things earlier this week, and my God, that fucking movie. Oh God. I don't know. After I finished watching that movie, I looked over at Tiff and I was like, all right. So that was either the worst movie that I have ever seen, or it was the best movie that I have ever seen. And I'm not entirely sure which of those two it is. It's so fucking weird. But like, weird in an interesting and good way. Like, did you ever watch the movie Vanilla Sky? Tom Cruise movie?
No,
okay.
I did not.
Vanilla Sky is one of those movies that, while I kind of liked Vanilla Sky, I think Cameron Crowe directed it. Like, it was his follow-up to, what's the fucking Cameron Crowe movie? I don't know, with the kid on the bus and the musicians.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Really? fuck?
I've heard the name Cameron Crowe before.
It's got oh fuck, I don't even know the actress's name. Jesus Christ, I'm falling apart, Chris. I'm very tired. It'll come to me at some point, and when I say come to me, I'll just look it up, and then I'll ask, like, oh, it's fucking this.
Surprised I'm not looking it up right now.
Well, I can't multitask right now. I'm too tired. Vanilla Sky is like a
Almost
weird movie.
Famous?
Yeah, there you go. That's the one with Kate. What's her face in it?
Kate Winslet. I've seen that one.
No, not Kate Winslet.
It's not Kate Winslet?
Kate Winslet. No.
That's not Kate Winslet? Who was that in that movie?
No, it's who's the fucking daughter? It's Goldie Hawn's daughter and Kurt Russell's daughter. What's her name? Maybe it's not Kate.
Hudson. Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson. It is Kate. How dare you, Kate Winslet? Fuck's wrong with you?
I don't know. Who the fuck's Kate Winslet?
Titanic bullshit out of here.
Oh,
Kate Winslet
all right. Okay,
Titanic.
there you
go. Which might be
Good
the
times.
most... That is the worst movie I've ever seen. Anyway. It was 2 hours of like, please hit the fucking iceberg. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Oh
but
my
then when
God,
they
I
did,
want
that
this
was
movie to
really
be over.
fun. I really liked they hit the iceberg and there's ice and water everywhere and people are dying. It's a good time.
I took a girl out on a date to see that movie. Like a blind date kind of thing that my friend Kimmy set up. And like, we got done with the movie and she was like, oh my God, I loved it so much. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work out. I'll drop you off. I could never fucking talk to her again. I hated that movie so much. Anyway, Vanilla Sky is a weird movie. It's not quite the same type of weird as like Poor Things. Poor Things is really, really weird. But Vanilla Sky is like a weird movie that doesn't really ever get to where it's going with its weirdness. Poor Things was about as good as any David Lynch movie. So like, you know David Lynch, right? Like Twin Peaks.
I'm not personally.
Racerhead. That's Mulholland Drive. You've seen these things? Yes.
I have not, actually. I have not seen those things. I am aware of them, but I've never watched them.
You are impossible to talk to sometimes. You own literally every version of the fucking Super Mario Brothers movie. Not the new one, the good one, like the old fucking one. You've seen that. You can... What happens at 41 seconds into the movie? And you're like, oh, that's when the fucking dude does this. What about 38 minutes? Oh, that's when fucking Dennis Hopper does this thing.
You are
like, have you ever seen any of these?
The number of times I've seen that movie. I own that movie
once.
You ever seen any
of these
DVD.
super popular movies? No. Bullshit. You have that on VHS, fucking Laserdisc. You got it on the fucking
I fucking
UMD.
wish. I fucking wish. God, why wasn't that released on UMD? That would be the best thing ever. Watch that movie on a
really
PSP. No. Not UMD.
Weird...
Game Boy Advance Video. There you go.
Oh, yeah. I would have looked just as good as it did when it fucking came out.
Remember that fucking Video Now thing? The little
I do.
The screen was the size of a postage stamp.
Yeah. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? I mean, I know that we can, but we shouldn't.
Kids were like eating it up, dude. Like, oh, I can watch videos on this little thing in the car. I'm like, can you though?
I know
you're little kids and your eyes are good, but what are you even looking at?
But are they that good? We don't feed you carrots or anything. They're too expensive. In this economy, carrots? Oh. In Joe Biden's disastrous economy, Chris? I'm currently wearing a green dress in my kitchen, by the way. It's very Handmaid's Tale over here. That's a joke that some of you get, not everybody did, and it's fine.
I haven't watched Handmaid's Tale either, but that's a conscious choice.
Yeah, oh god. Fucking saw a clip of her talking with the Sarah McLachlan Tears of an Angel in the background. So fucking funny. Anyway, so good. So Poor Things is very weird. It's very like David Lynch style kind of movie. But Willem Dafoe, like, did you... Why am I even asking you this question? The fucking Lighthouse movie that Willem Dafoe did with Robert Pattinson? No. Okay, you didn't see that one either. Fuck, man. Willem Dafoe is making some really interesting choices as he gets older.
I'm not entirely convinced he's making
nine.
choices. I'm pretty sure he just says yes to everything.
He just shows up. Oh, they're filming a movie over there. Let me pop in and see if they need some Willem Dafoe.
I borrow a tall glass of Willem Dafoe this afternoon. Absolutely. What's the role? Doesn't matter. I'll be there. Give me the script.
Doesn't matter. I'm doing it. Okay, don't give me a script. I'm just going to fucking make it up.
I'm just going to go out there and be the Green Goblin for 15 minutes. You can edit around it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be great. I'm fucking Willem Dafoe. Shows up just shouting, it's Willem time. What the fuck is happening? And like he's such a wonderful old man that nobody wants to say no. And I'm like, all right, fine. Fuck, Willem. Come on, man. Jesus. It's really weird that you're in this one scene of this romantic comedy, but okay, there's Willem. Anyway, it's
just peering
it's
into
a super
the window.
weird fucking movie.
No lines.
Just fucking creepy staring in the background. Wearing makeup from some other fucking set he was on. He's shooting 2 movies that day.
You know, I'm something of a peeping Tom myself.
So fucking good. Oh, man. Anyway, so Poor Things. Really weird movie. Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, bunch of other people. It's really good, I think, or it's really bad. I'm not sure. Everybody needs to watch it. It's one of those movies where it's like, you just got to watch it. You got to figure it out for yourself.
I don't think I do, though. I don't really think that I do.
I want
I
you to
feel like
see
there are better uses of my time. I'm just, no.
I mean, how many times, be honest, Chris. How many times have you seen Manos, the Hands of Fate?
Define scene. Like, I've probably actually sat and watched it once, and then every other time I've seen it, it's been on in the background while other things are happening. I suspect this movie is not something I'm going to throw on in the background while cooking dinner.
No, certainly not. And like, you should not watch this around your children. Certainly not your mother, or perhaps even your sisters. That's right, Sean. I didn't listen to your story, but I'll still throw you under the bus. No, you really should see it once, man. It was an experience.
Maybe someday it'll show up on the podcast. It's about me watching movies that I apparently should see. But yeah, I just cannot imagine a situation
what letter
where
are
I'm
you
going to
guys
have
on?
spare time. Then we just finished the Ewoks, so we're on F.
F? That took you way too long. Finish the Ewoks, so we're on...
Oh, sorry, I'm gambling right now.
I'll say... Oh, okay. Because it sounded like you were looking up the next letter.
No, trying to keep track of the time, make sure I spin every 15 seconds.
It sounded very much like that episode of Family Guy. Peter, what color are those red fire trucks? I want to say red? Good thing I just watched that documentary on fire trucks.
We're watching FX2.
Let me know Oh, God. You're going to watch... See, that's the thing. You're going to watch FX2. Let me know when you get to pee and you need a guest host. I'll jump in. I'll watch this movie again.
I think you and me have drastically different opinions on what a good use of our spare time is.
Oh, no, 100% we do. It's really... Like, I don't know if the listeners have figured this out yet, but video games and playing music are like literally the only two things we have in common, right? Like, everything else in our spare time just is wildly different.
We're like peanut butter and jelly.
We are. That's why we go so well together. Fucking always texting me pictures of the weird shit you... Never mind. Shut up.
Wow.
Sorry.
Where's that one going?
Fuck, I'm really tired, man. Really tired. I'm in a lot of pain.
Well, we'll try it. We'll try and keep this moving along nicely. Video games. What have you been playing? Have you played any video games this week?
No, not really. The new season of Marvel Snap started, so they added Hope Summers as a card, which has been really fun. There's some new stuff in Pad in Japan. I've really just not had time. Like, it was last weekend we were adopting out the dogs, and then Sunday there was an AEW pay-per-view, which was Sting's retirement. Like, it was this really awesome thing, but it was on till fucking midnight, so I couldn't watch the whole thing on Sunday night. So I watched a little bit, then finished the rest of that on Monday, and then we watched this Poor Things movie, and then we watched the State of the Union. Obviously, like, there just really hasn't been a ton of like extra time. I downloaded the new version of Madden, which is last year's Madden that they put on the PlayStation Plus or the EA. I don't know, whatever. Those ads when you're scrolling through like social media and it's like, let's find all your hidden subscriptions. Like, I need to fucking find all my hidden subscriptions because I don't know when I paid for all this shit. It's just like, oh, I can fucking download that. Sweet. But man, like, I played through like a season or two and I was like, all right, I'm fucking, I don't want to do this anymore. This kind of sucks. Madden is not a very good football game, is what I've come to figure out. And did you hear? So they're doing the NCAA game. EA is putting that out for the first time in like 10 years.
Right. I did hear about that.
College football game coming out. And they offered, because with this thing called, I don't know how much you've been keeping up on this. Probably not much, would be my guess. But college athletes get paid for their likeness now.
I did hear about that, yeah.
The case, right? You could. Okay, so the NIL, kids are making, I mean, if you're like Caleb Williams, right? Caleb Williams is predicted to be the number 1 draft pick in 6 weeks, something like that, whenever the NFL draft is. He's a quarterback, USC. Over the last 2 years, he has made upwards of $10 million.
That's a lot of dollars. As a college athlete,
money.
Holy shit. A college kid should never have access to $10 million.
No, like, it's just there's a lot of they should be getting paid for what they do because they're making billions of dollars for their schools. But at the same time, like, it's I don't know, there's this really weird kind of just a moral thing around it of like, should we be giving kids, legitimate kids like 18, 19 years old, access to this kind of money? And the answer is obviously no. We should not be doing that. I don't know that I should be given $10 million to, like, I can't fucking, I'd buy a lot of swords. That's not fucking responsible. What do I need all those swords for? But I have them now.
It helps to be prepared.
So anyway. Case. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
How else can one expect to chop vegetables, right?
No.
Knives? Like a fucking barbarian? No. Swords.
Like a fucking
And then once one sword is dirty, like, you're not going to use the same sword you used to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to cut a tomato.
No.
Like, and you're not going to wash it straight away. You need a set of swords in every room of the house.
No, I'm going to throw them out. I have so many. You gave me $10 million. And you shouldn't have. Fucking lousy with swords.
The entire 10 million, just swords, nothing else.
Seen the look on the guy's face at the sword store. It's crazy. It's like, really? 10 mil? Sweet. So EA has to, they have to pay the kids to be in the college football game for the first time ever. But what EA decided to do, and I think this is probably the right way to handle it, it just comes out to be a hilarious number. They split an amount of money evenly between every player that is in the NCAA game. And so far, like, only, I think, one player has turned them down. But they were like, all right, for your likeness in this game, we are going to offer you $600. Take it or leave it. And it was like, oh, that seems like a laughably small amount of money.
Yeah, in comparison to what we were just talking about. Honest to goodness, I was starting to like fade out a little bit during that sentence you were saying, and then you said $600, and I thought, wait, did I miss something?
No. They decided on a chunk of money, and they were like, all right, when we divide it evenly, it's $600. It's fucking wild. Anyway, I mean, $600 to some of these kids is like fucking sweet. That's awesome. $600.
$600 to me would be fucking sweet right now. I would love $600 right now. That would be so amazing.
Well, of course, and if you're the backup kicker on fucking Boise State, $600 is probably pretty good. But if you're fucking Caleb Williams, you're getting $10 million. You're like, nah, I'm good, man. But no, apparently he took it too. I think the only like big name that was like, nah, I don't need that, is Arch Manning, who is Peyton and Eli's nephew. He was like, no, the Manning name is worth more than $600. Thank you very much. Yeah, anyway. Madden sucks. It's really the whole point of that entire story. It's just not a very good game, and I really wish there were a fun football game to play.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Do they not do, isn't there like some sort of modern Tecmo Bowl? Or are you looking for something more realistic?
Oh no, like I want like franchise and like draft picks and the whole fucking schmageggy.
We need to go, what you're looking for is we need to go back to the Madden Game Day Quarterback Club era where there was actual competition, so people had reason to make better games. Yeah, that would be nice. I would like that very much.
The menu system is fucking atrocious. It's difficult to navigate. There's just so much stupid shit in that game, and it's fucking infuriating. Like, at least with the show, for all of its shortcomings, it is still an incredibly good baseball game. Like,
yeah, it's fun to play.
It doesn't have any competition. It's fun to play. The menus, like getting from point A to point B, is not this cumbersome, frustrating thing like it is in Madden. It's just it sucks that there's no competition to push it. But with Madden, it's just like fuck, man. It's very frustrating to try and get through. So I was like, fuck it, I'll delete it. I'm done. I did see there was a demo for Stellar Blade that was announced or released today.
Stellar Blade?
It's the PlayStation 5 anime nonsense. The chick looks Bayonetta adjacent. Oh, she's got impossible outfits with impossible physics and a big fucking sword and giant monsters and shit. I don't know. It looks fucking cool.
You really do pronounce the W in sword, don't you?
No, I do. I fuck around. No, I know. I think it's very funny to say sword. I don't know why. I've been noticing
you're doing it the entire episode, and it seems to just like.
No,
I'm not complaining.
It is not
That's
a
how
speech.
It's spelled.
It's not a speech impediment that I have. I do know that it is sword. However, I just think it's much funnier to say sword.
Is it sword or is it sword? And everyone pronounces it wrong.
I'm the only one out here pronouncing it right.
Well, no, I mean, there's lots of words that are like that, you know. No, like it's February.
Oh, I thought you were gonna start giving some examples.
Yeah, like it's February, not February.
February,
right? But everyone says February, but it's not February. It's February, but nobody says it properly, and it's just kind of been commonly accepted that that's the way it says. So I'm actually curious if it is sword.
Know. I really,
or if
I
it's
don't
sword, because
know.
it's not spelled sword. It's not SORD.
No.
It's SW. That W's got to be there for a reason. I am here to be your shield of logic to your mace of insanity. That's my purpose this evening, sir.
That's fair. No, I really like when Pokemon Sword and Shield came out. That was like it really drove my kids nuts when I would ask them if they wanted Sword or Shield, and that just made me really happy.
As if you're not making your kids nuts, then what are you doing?
That's really what it comes down to, Chris. Yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you?
Well, I think I mentioned last week that I was pushing real hard to try and get done this Mario video I've been working on. And did I come to the conclusion that it wasn't going to get done last week, or was I still thinking I was getting it done?
No, I think last week you said you were trying to hit for Mario Day, or maybe that was just in the. No, that's in the Discord chat, maybe.
Either way, that was my plan. That became my plan after it became apparent there was absolutely no way I was getting this thing done by then. But it's like, all right, Mario Day's coming. Let's do that. So that's been my focus this week. Like, I've been laser focused this week on trying to get this video done for Mario Day. And I've just been working on it. Like, I wake up in the morning, I close out a bunch of tickets for work.
Yeah.
And I just been working on editing nonstop. And I finally finished, like, just before I put John to bed tonight. I finally put the last pieces of the video together. So now I'm like just going through and tacking on footage credit and image credits, basically just crediting my sources, because I'm it's important to do that kind of thing, not to steal from people outright. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, but holy crap, am I relieved that it is like together. Because this was, I think I said it last week, and I maintain this was without a doubt the most challenging writing I've ever done, was piecing this script together. And then the editing was pretty challenging too. Like, at the end of this video, I do a bit where I'm talking about how the two series the Mario series had evolved differently in Japan versus the US, and I wanted to illustrate that, because it was like, it worked out that we basically each got 4 Mario platformers, right? We each got 4 of them over this similar period of time, right? And Japan got Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers Special, Super Mario Brothers 2, and then Super Mario 3. Whereas we got Super Mario 2, Super Mario Land, and Super Mario 3, right? Our different Mario 2, obviously. And so I wanted to come up with this thing where I put, the 4 different screens on the screen, but also have something else in the background, and have those 4 different screens showcasing those different games. As I say the words of which game they were, they would each fade onto the screen at a time. And that was pretty fun. And then after that, I talked about all the various things that, to us, it seemed super obvious that, because it was contrary to the way the games actually evolved in America. Let me grab my script, and because the things were pretty neat that I actually, I'm looking at the damn video. I'll just look at it here rather than dig up my script. And I wanted to find scenes from Mario 3 and then Mario 2 and Mario Land that illustrated those things having already been in existence.
Okay.
So, like, in Japan, right, you got the Mario 1. We just went through that. So I pointed out vertical, multi-directional screen scrolling, going through doors, being able to pick up, throw enemies and items, recurring mini bosses, multi-tiered platforms, and auto-scrolling stages. All of those things weren't in any Mario games before Mario 3 in Japan, but they were in Mario 2 and Mario Land. Like, Mario 2 had pretty much everything, except I pointed out the multi-tiered multi-tiered platforms from Super Mario Land just to have a second one for there. But small auto-scrolling stages and multi-tiered platforms, all that stuff wasn't in any Mario game before 3. So it was this massive leap from Mario 2 to Mario 3, whereas in the United States, there was this really cool progression. So I wanted to find scenes from both of those games to play right next to each other that illustrated them in a similar manner. And it came out looking really cool, I think. I'm very proud of this video. I really am. I know it's extraordinarily
That's awesome,
nerdy. I have ripped my basement to pieces. I have gone through so much of my stuff, like the shadow box I made last year. I needed a shot of the box for the Famicom version of Mario 1, so I pulled that off the wall and cracked that open to take a picture of that. Getting the footage of these goddamn watches did not come out the way that I had hoped it would. I had really hoped getting my camera super close to the watches would just be like, well, that's it. I'll just, since I can't get direct feeds because emulators on these don't exist, I'll just zoom my camera in all the way into it, and that'll be great. The problem was that because of the nature of these screens, there was no good angle with lighting that would show all of the actual animation elements, right? So I could always see the watch, and I could always see what the static background that was painted on was. But no matter where I placed it, the actual moving elements, some of them wouldn't show up, like just because that's the way the light would hit it. And it was just so incredibly infuriating. That and getting the footage of the first one in particular, because so the third one actually looks pretty decent. Like I'm looking at it now, the footage I got's pretty okay. It's not spectacular, but there's only one spot that you can't really see it all that well. So what I did was I strapped the watches. I didn't strap them down. I laid the watches down on my bar top, and then I put weights on the wristband, and then I zoomed in I zoomed my camera all the way in because I didn't want anyone to be able to see my thumbs doing the controls. So what I did was I took these 2 screwdrivers and I used those to press the buttons so that you wouldn't see my thumbs poking over the edge of the screen while playing the game. For Mario 3, this wasn't actually that bad, but Mario 1 is such a poorly designed piece of garbage. The Mario 1 Nelsonic watch has this. First off, the screen in the background, I don't know if it's just because it's older or just because of the way it was made, but the actual background of it is really, it's got a texture to it that you can't see when you're just looking at it because it's tiny. It's the face of a wristwatch. But when you blow it up, you see all of this texturing on the background that makes it actually kind of hard to see what's going on the screen. I'm not thrilled with the way it came out, but I'm not horribly offended by it either. Because I did a different shot where you can see me.
It'll do.
Can see me playing it with my thumbs.
Nelsonic game watch.
Yeah, like it's as good as footage I'm going to get until I can figure out how to possibly. If somebody can figure out how to emulate these things and get direct feed footage, that would be amazing. But as far as I can tell on the internet,
you could have hardwired a to the board, run that into the retro tink, upscaled it, obviously HD TV. That's the way to go. if you really, if you honestly cared about
if I could have reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, I understand, but I just didn't.
But
I didn't
even try. You didn't even try.
I didn't even try.
No, you were like, no, it's got to be out by March 10th. Can't do all the fucking things anyway.
The real problem with this one, one of the many real problems with this one, the Mario 1 watch, in order to jump forward, you have to press 2 different buttons at the same time, right? There is no just move forward and he automatically moves to the next area. You have to press up and forward. And when I say forward, there is a forward and backward button. It doesn't work like a D-pad where if you need to move to the right, you press right. You move left, you press left. Once you get up to the second tier, it's basically like playing with reversed controls because you have to press the forward button and the back button. And the forward button is the fucking left button. Because when you start the game, you have to go to the left and then go to the right and then go back to the left again to jump over the Koopa Dragon. which is really not a great design. It is trying to press these two buttons with adult thumbs is absurd. But I did learn something else about these Nelsonic watches, which I think is really interesting. So like the first one, right, it's based on Super Mario 1, and there wasn't a lot of establishment in Super Mario Brothers 1, right? It was just still kind of the Wild West with like the art styles and things like that. They hadn't really settled on these are the established rules of the Mario universe quite yet.
Yeah, they were figuring it out.
I understood this one being weird. I found a reproduction of the instruction manual online that tells the story of the game is that Mario's sweetheart, the princess, was kidnapped by a witch. You never see this witch, and the witch is never mentioned again. The witch doesn't have a name. The witch isn't even in the game. But according to the story, the princess was kidnapped by the witch, and the witch's like main henchman or main guard or whatever is the fire-breathing Koopa dragon.
Naturally, right?
Naturally.
I mean, we've played that story 100 times in Mario games.
So I thought that was fun and interesting. And when I went to go find the instruction manual for the Mario 3 Game Watch, I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. Everywhere I searched, I could find the Mario 1, but I could not find any sort of scans of the Mario 3 one. So I wound up going to eBay to see if anybody had like a picture of it in their eBay listings. And somebody had a photocopy of it off like on an angle. And no matter how much I zoomed in, I could only read like 75% of the words, but it was really freaking weird. So I reached out to a bunch of eBay sellers to see if anybody could get me a better picture of the instructions. And a couple people got back to me saying that they didn't have it on them. They had to go get them. They get back to me in a couple of days. But the one person that did get back to me was the person who had the eBay listing with the photocopy. They pointed me to a Reddit thread where somebody had a link to images that they posted of the actual instruction manual. And it turns out, even though this is Super Mario Brothers 3, and by Super Mario Brothers 3, there had been a lot more establishment in the Mario universe, storyline-wise, it is actually a direct sequel to the first Nelsonic Game Watch. It has continuity. It says in the story, 2 years later, after the last game, Mario's sweetheart was kidnapped again by the Koopa Dragon, although they never mentioned the witch. This time, the Koopa Dragon is still the Koopa Dragon and not Bowser, but it is also has never been, the witch is just never mentioned again.
Right.
It's so freaking weird. It is such a weird thing, and I'm so happy I learned that. I learned a little bit about the Valiant comics and how long they were out. I learned a bit about movies in Japan. Like, I didn't really realize that there was more animated Mario stuff in Japan. So, like, Mario almost never appeared in any actual animation except for, like, maybe one or two commercials before the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, with the exception of the Saturday Supercade, where he was in the Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. segments. But in Japan, there was that movie, the Great Adventure to Rescue Princess, Great Quest to Rescue Princess Peach or whatever. There was that. There was a series where they used Mario characters to like illustrate old fairy tales, like Jack and the Beanstalk and whatnot, and Cinderella. Really? And one of them that I showed footage, that I took footage of, that I found on YouTube, is Mario running around with a freaking machine gun. Just, I don't know which story that's trying to
Italian,
adapt,
but
it's freaking weird.
Little Mermaid, obviously. Look at this
so
stuff,
strange,
isn't it? Neat?
And there's all these.
All this puts
animation.
All bodies in the street. Sorry.
There's this a bunch of commercials for random products in Japan that have a lot of Mario animation. Like, there's this one bit that I used from a commercial for a Mario themed desk. And like, there was a bunch of commercials for this Mario themed desk that had like compartments that open up. Like I don't know what
work desk,
like a work desk for kids. It's got a little light that goes back and forth, which is really neat. But I don't know what makes it Mario themed. It's just like, here's this desk and here's Mario characters promoting it, and it's all original animation. It's so friggin' weird.
It's not like blue and red, or
no, it's just
there's
wood,
not an M on it somewhere.
Wood. As far as I can tell, it's just a wood desk. I also didn't know that
That's
the first...
really odd.
the first two movie projects, as far as I know, the first two movie projects ever based on video games were that Mario, the Mario anime movie, the great, Great Mission to Save Princess Peach, and another one that was called Running Boy, based on Hudson's Star Soldier series. Running Boy, Star Soldier no Himitsu, and the Mario movie both released on the same day, and they were the first two movie projects ever based on video game properties.
Flooding your market in a weird way there, I feel.
Yeah. Very, very strange. But anyway, yeah, I learned a lot of stuff doing this video, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. I can't wait for it to be behind me, and I can clean up my friggin' basement with all my stuff laid out friggin' everywhere and get all my Nintendo Powers back in order, and then spend the next several weeks making videos that aren't super complicated. I also got to use a new capture card that we started carrying. We started carrying a capture card called the Prodigy from Behar Brothers? I don't know how you pronounce it. Behar. I'm going to say Behar. We just started carrying their products recently, and so they sent me a long time ago. I have this old school, just like a $20 HD video capture card, and it works okay. Like, it's a $20 capture card. It is slap it on the end of an HDMI cable, plug it in a USB port, and it works. Like, it is absolutely zero setup, plug and play, done.
Bare bones, but it gets the job done. Exactly.
Bare bones, but it gets the job done. The Prodigy definitely... I've never used another capture card. I'm not a master of capture cards, so I'm hardly an aficionado here. But using this one, it was just as easy to set up, but it has a lot more options, and it seems like it's really well suited for stuff like streaming, because it's got, see, the old school one that I had was just a simple dongle, HDMI, USB, you're done. Yeah. This one has HDMI in and out, as well as a microphone in and microphone out. So you can USB-C straight to your computer and run OBS to record. You put your whatever you're plugging HDMI into right into the in output, but then you also have a separate HDMI output, so it's a splitter. So you can play on a TV for yourself, but also be streaming or recording onto your computer, so you don't have to deal with the input lag of OBS. This is really it's a neat little device. It doesn't have a proper enclosure or anything. It's got one of those really simple, like, piece of plastic on top, piece of plastic on the bottom, and everything else is open. But I gotta say that the picture quality is much nicer than the old school one, just from doing a basic input. And if we ever do decide to do something like the Petathon again, or any kind of streaming, this will be a pretty invaluable device to have. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, it's pretty neat to be able to check to be able to do that. So if you're looking for a capture card, we sell the Prodigy at TonyHGamer.com. This would be a decent one to get, at least from my ridiculously uneducated.
It won't do the fucking Game Watch though, so
No, it will not.
Temper your expectations, kids.
This is $55 as opposed to $20 as far as price, but it does do a lot more. I did reach out actually to Jeremy Parrish, and he hasn't gotten back to me, which who knows if he will. But I have an email. I have an email chain with him from the old the Atari book stuff that we did, and
when he needed something from you, he was all fucking.
He helped me out with the first Mario video. I was watching one of his videos, and there was he got a bunch of information about Mario 1, but I couldn't find where he got that information from. So I asked him if he could tell me, and he pointed me in the right direction to where he got all that info from. It was an invaluable source for the first video. But he's been doing a bunch of stuff on his channel, specifically for Patreon, where he has somebody that he works with that's been modding ridiculous old game systems that nobody's ever heard of before, that should never ever be captured through direct feed, and yet he is bending nature to his will to record this video footage to do retrospectives on its old system. So I'm like, if there's anyone out there who would at least know who to put me in touch with to try and figure out how to get direct feed footage off Nelsonic Game Watches, it would be this guy. So I really hope he gets back to me. I hope he reads my email. I'm sure he's a super busy guy. I'm sure he's got plenty to do that's more important than getting back to me. But still, this seems like a project that would be right up his alley. And I would love to be able to solve this problem, because there's some really great direct feed footage of straight up emulated Game & Watch games is perfectly accessible. Like, Game & Watch has been cracked. But these Nelsonic watches have absolutely not been, as far as I can tell. And I really want that to happen.
Well, I want it to happen for you. I do.
Thank you. I don't
know why, because it seems absurd.
That's why I want it. Needs to be. I want it in crystal clear clarity.
To ask for.
I want to be able to play a Nelsonic Game Watch game with a controller and gorgeous 1080p resolution.
Sure. Why not?
I mean, because it's insane. Monster. That's why not.
You're a monster.
I'm so happy to have this project almost behind me. I had really made an effort to say, no, I don't want to put strict dates on these things because they're so stressful and they're so difficult to make, and so many things can come up along the way. I figured a solid week of doing nothing but this would have been enough, and it was just barely enough, and I had to blow off a bunch of other responsibilities to get it done, but I did, and now it's over, and I'll just get back to normal. But outside of that, I did actually get some time to play a few video games. I did finish Metal Gear Solid since we recorded last. I booted up about 5 seconds of Metal Gear Solid 2. I started it up, and I'm watching the whole intro, and John strolls downstairs, and he sits and he starts watching it too. And like 10 minutes go by, and he's like, "There's not a lot of game in this game, is there?" He's like, "No, son."
No, John. No, there's not.
So he just got bored and fucked off. He's like, "Okay, well, I'm out."
Well, I'm out.
I finally got to the part where there's actually some moving around of Snake, and I didn't see anything.
Snake.
Dun, 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 dun. This is one of those things that I have not played Metal Gear Solid 2 on a PlayStation 2 in fucking decades.
Yeah.
So I don't know a side-by-side comparison, but nothing looked bad to me while playing it on the Switch. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe my standards are just too low, because there's apparently a whole debate going on on Twitter right now of people saying that 30 frames per second is literally unplayable, to which I think is complete absurdity, but whatever. I'm looking forward to getting more into it. I still haven't officially been assigned the review for it, but I have been assigned 2 other reviews, so those are taking precedent right now. I have not been assigned a review for Runner 2, but I have been playing a little bit of that, and it is fucking great. It's just as good as I remember. It's still a lovely, lovely game. But I got assigned to review the Jeff Minter story, the Llamasoft game. That has been that's been wonderful so far, because I know almost nothing about Jeff Minter, right? He's a British PC guy. I know he did Tempest 2000 and the new Aka R thing. Like, that's really all I know of him, because he doesn't really have a huge foothold in America, but he's like a really well-known name in the European PC market, which is just something that doesn't exist here. So I'm just learning a lot about him, and God, the presentation in this is so wonderful. There's something specific about the music. Again, it was done by Robert Baffy, who did the music in the Gold Series 1 Karateka and the Atari 50. There's something about the menu music, and just a lot of the stuff that they're showing are these close-up, like 3D renders of audio cassette tapes, cassette tapes that you would use for the old computers, and like just the handwritten stuff on these cassette tapes that are so meticulously recreated in 3D. There's something that's hitting me so hard when listening to this very 80s inspired music and looking at these close-ups of audio cassettes. That's just filling me with this very specific nostalgia. That's like, it has been so calming to have that at the end of the day. Like, working nonstop, stressing myself out with this video, and then doing dinner and bedtime with the kids, and then watching something on TV with Karen, and then unwinding to this Jeff Mitchell thing. Oh, goodness. And it's just been, the nostalgia has just hit me so hard this week. I'm sure a lot of it probably has something to do with what I'm doing right now. The video that I just finished was on Mario 3, so I had to do a whole segment on The Wizard, which is another one of those things that just, The Wizard is one of those movies that just, it hit at the exact time for me. It was how I even discovered Mario 3 existed. You know, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know there was a Mario 3 before I saw it in the movie theater, which is not how it went in real life. A lot of people knew about it because it was out in Japan for a fucking year. But I didn't read. I didn't have access. I didn't have access to many
we just
magazines.
Didn't get that kind of shit.
Yeah, I did. The magazines covered it, but like I didn't read EGM back then, and I didn't have a Nintendo Power subscription, so I didn't know it was a thing. So I go to see this movie about Nintendo games because there was a picture of Mario on the movie poster, and my parents took me, and the guy says Super Mario Brothers 3, and I'm like,
what the fuck?
Oh, absolutely amazing.
It's just the most exciting shit ever.
But that whole movie it's such a weird movie because it's just earnest enough, you know, like it took itself. It was so obviously an ad, right? Like it was an ad for Universal Studios and in Nintendo games, but it was also like they wrote this movie about this autistic kid when nobody knew the term autism, right? That wasn't happening. Yeah. And they never refer to him as autistic in the movie, but he's like, it's a touching story. And I know it's not an Oscar-worthy performances or anything like that. The script isn't this amazing thing. And it takes place in this very strange alternate reality where like it was clearly written by people who understood the arcade scene in the 70s, but tried to apply like NES to that. So like they go to a truck stop and there's like businessmen playing a Play Choice 10 cabinet. Like that doesn't exist. Like,
no, it just
seeing
doesn't.
Kids and businessmen and everyone playing in the arcade next to each other, that existed in the 70s and the early 80s, but that stopped existing. Like by this point, video games were being marketed very squarely towards young boys, not grown-ups or anything else. So this weird world that they put these NES games into where like people are impressed by your high score in Double Dragon. Like that was never a thing. It was never a thing.
No.
There were no kids that were like 50,000 in Double Dragon. It didn't matter how your score was. It mattered how far you got. By this point, games had changed
50,000 in Double Dragon, you piece of shit. What's wrong with you?
It's such a weird movie. Right. But outside of that, it's just, you know, between its soundtrack and the kid actors were not bad. I mean, obviously Fred Savage, we knew he was not a shit kid actor, and you know the Rilo Kiley girl who played Haley. Is he?
I'm just kidding.
I hope not. I love Fred Savage.
Everybody knows Fred Savage is just a piece of garbage.
Did you ever watch The Grinder?
No.
It was a sitcom on Fox. With Fred Savage and Rob Lowe, where Fred Savage was a lawyer and Rob Lowe was his brother, I think.
Yeah.
And he was an actor who played a lawyer on TV and decided to go be a real lawyer.
Yeah,
love
that
Rob
sounds somewhat familiar.
That show is fucking hilarious, and I'm so sad it got canceled as quickly as it did. Because, like, they had... so he went to go on the show and pretend to be a lawyer. He went to like his brother's law firm to pretend to be a lawyer after being on the show, but the show continued without him. And the show was like extremely melodramatic. So it was hysterical every time they showed footage of the show. And the guy they made a joke about that they had his character was replaced on the show with Timothy Olyphant. And then they got Timothy Olyphant to be on the show and like start studying Rob Lowe to be better at his character. And it's great because Timothy Olyphant is another fucking American treasure. Goodness gracious. Anyway, I love The Wizard. I've been feeling just ridiculously nostalgic this week, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with just how stressed out I've been, you know, between that and running out of money again because everything costs way too much money, and it's just been a brutal fucking week, and I'm glad it's over, and I need to recharge this weekend. But the other game I just got assigned to review is really fascinating. Is Super Princess Peach, not Super Princess, Princess Peach Showtime. They launched a demo kind of out of nowhere.
Super Princess Peach was that
was
DS?
the DS game.
Game Boy Advance?
That was the DS game.
Okay.
This one's Princess Peach Showtime. They just announced a demo. Not announced. They released a demo for it. So naturally, I downloaded it straight away. I gave it a quick shot, and exactly as I had heard online, it is just unbelievably easy. It is so simple to play. But I was really curious what Ellie would make of it.
Offensively so? Or...
I wouldn't go so far as to say offensively so. And as I'm playing it, I'm like, there is no challenge here. But it is still doing that. It's feeling rewarding to do things. Like, not enough to be like, oh, I love this. But you beat up a bunch of guys with your sword, you do some cool moves. It's like, okay, yeah. I'm getting just enough serotonin out of this, and it's fucking adorable. So to keep going and make it through the demo. Well, I didn't make it all the way through the demo. I stopped after the first level because it was late and I wanted to go to bed. But I really wanted Ellie to try out the game. Because that's been the whole thing since they first showed it off. Like, oh, this is a game for Ellie. And I say that, but there has never actually been a game for Ellie. Because Ellie is terrible at video games. And I don't mean to say that as some kind of a joke. She just does not have the concept of video games built into her. There is a huge disconnect. Now, playing stuff like Nintendo Switch Sports, simple motion control, stuff like that, she can get that. Playing Clubhouse games, playing Big Brain Academy, like games that don't involve moving a character around and then pressing buttons to make them do actions are good for Ellie. Okay. I thought when I got the Kirby game, Kirby Star Allies, that would be a great game to play with Ellie, or the Super Mario games to play with Ellie, but she can't. She can't keep up with us at all, because anything that involves moving a character and pressing buttons, there's just a disconnect there. It's not her thing. She can't wrap her head around it. But she loves the characters, Princess Peach. And she saw that trailer for it and was like, oh my God, I got to try this. So as I'm playing this and I'm like, man, they really did make this game easy. Wait a second. Hold on a second. This might actually be a game for her. So I sat her down with the demo, and she was thrilled. She was over the fucking moon with how cute it was. She read the little story elements in the beginning. She got to the stage, and she did struggle a little bit, but it was easy enough that she could kind of sort of understand what she needed to do enough, where it wasn't like when she plays a Mario game, as soon as she starts struggling, she just gets angry and gives up. She never gave up. She made it through the whole demo, even though she lost a bunch of times on the second stage. The first stage, you get to be sword fighter Peach. And in the second stage, you get to be, I don't know the fucking French word they used, cake baker Peach. There's a French word that they use, and I can't remember what it is. Patissiere. Yeah, patissiere, that's it. Patissiere Peach. And she struggled hard on that. Like, she died 2 or 3 times on the sword fighter stage. And she got a little put off, but we encouraged her and she stuck with it, and she eventually beat the boss, and she was so proud of herself. First off, when Peach does the actual transformation into the new costume, she lit up like a Christmas tree. She was squealing. She was so thrilled. But when she beat the boss, the sense of accomplishment there was so great. But so that stage, you're moving her around and sword fighting. You mash a button. It's like a really simple beat 'em up, basically. And there's like a parry move that runs basically automatically. You press either the attack or the jump button. She'll automatically do this cool parry move. But that was the thing that kept tripping her up, was that she would run at a bad guy and then start mashing the jump button when she meant attack, because she cannot even wrap her head around which button's which. 2-button controls. Like, Atari is fine. Like, she would do asteroids. She can do that just fine. Because there's one button. So
I see a future Miko customer in our midst. These games are too complicated for her primitive female brain.
Like, she was playing Asteroids and Mindstorm on the Vectrex a while back, and like that's fine. She's moving a thing and pressing one button, and that's good. But like, she does the same thing with Super Mario Brothers. She'll run towards an enemy. She's like, but I was pressing the button. I was like, you're pressing the wrong button. There's 2 buttons to choose from. This one does that. This one does that. You just have to remember what 2 buttons do. And she refuses to put the thought in to do it. So it just keeps she banging her head against the wall. But she kept trying on this one until she got it right. The second stage, you do the Patissiere Peach, and it's all about decorating cakes. Which she really struggled with the second one, but she never gave up. Again, 5 or 6 tries in, they made her start the whole area over again, and she just kept going at it until she got it right. And then she played it again today. She's like, can I play the demo again? Huh. I've never, ever seen that before.
That's cool.
So I wrote about that to Lucas, my editor at Nintendo Force. I was like, I mentioned before, I was like, I know there's a line of people who want to review this game on staff, right? There's a bunch of people who are very interested in reviewing this game because it looks super cute. But I'm the only one on staff, as far as I know, with a 7-year-old girl. And I would really like to be considered for this. So after we played the demo, I jumped onto our chat, and I was like, look, she just played this game, and she fucking loved it. I just wanted to share that. Like, that's a thing that happened, and then like an hour or two later...
I'm currently politicking, Lucas, if you haven't picked up on my not-so-subtle hints.
He assigned it to me, so I'm thrilled. So my plan is not just to have her play it, but also I want to get some impressions from a couple of her friends. So, like, she has this one friend, Aurora, who does more gaming than her, but not, like, a ton. She plays Minecraft, but she was really impressed with Vampire Survivors when she was over my house one time, so she made her parents buy her that one. So she does a little more gaming than Ellie.
Now you're that dad. You're getting the satanic games for the fucking neighborhood children. Good job, Kris.
Then there's the neighbor girls. The neighbor girls,
the
in particular, the younger one, because the one girl's Ellie's age, but the other girl's like a year younger. So I'm really curious what she will make of this game, because they also barely play video games. So I'm very curious what she's going to make of it.
They're too busy pooping.
Exactly.
Obviously, I should stop. I'm sorry. So that's not nice.
And then there's another girl that Karen's friends with her mom. So that girl comes over. She's one of my favorites. This girl's name is Gwen, and she and I have this connection with, like, food. She comes over and she makes fun of me for whatever I'm eating, and I think she's great. She's hilarious. So I definitely want to get her impressions too, because she's like a year or two older than Ellie. And I also got John's impressions. John really enjoyed the demo, but he thought it was extremely easy. So it's a very interesting game. Did
he ever once, just out of curiosity, did he ever be like, oh, this is kind of girly?
No. He asked to play the demo on his own.
That's good. Yeah.
He doesn't have a shred of that in him. Which
I'm
sure is going to come up in school eventually.
The world kind of has a way. The world kind of has a way of getting in there.
Exactly. Like, this is going to come up once he starts caring what other people think about him. But as of right now, he doesn't have a shred of that in him. He just doesn't care. If anything, what's really interesting about his situation is that he does occasionally have kind of the opposite reaction to things, because right now, in a lot of pop culture, it's very female centric, right? And he's only 10 years old, so he didn't grow up with nothing but male figures and male superheroes. He sees all of this female empowerment and how great girls are, and Ellie listens to that terrible fucking Beyonce song, Who Run the World, Girls. I hate that song. It's so terrible.
How fucking dare you speak that way about Queen Bee?
Beyonce is great. I don't dislike a lot of Beyonce's music. That one song is fucking garbage. It's just a drum line and someone auto-tuning her voice to sound like an ambulance siren, and it's just this repetitive nonsense. But anyway, he's inundated with all of this.
To some SZA and some ice spice.
I don't know what any of that is, and I'm sure I'll learn
Don't do
someday.
it. You should not do it, but, it would be funny.
But to the point, he's inundated with a lot of female positivity to the extent that he feels that a lot of stuff that comes his way points out how much better girls are than boys, which is a weird thing to see, because a lot of it is like, girls are the fucking best. We can do anything you can do, but better. Like that's
we can also have babies, you fuckers.
All right. I'm not saying it's not earned, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. But we had our shot. We certainly did. But right now, with somebody exactly his age, like, he doesn't have the decades that came before. He's just seeing this exact moment right now.
Of misogyny and
exactly. So, and it doesn't come up very often, but sometimes he'll get in this, like, Ellie will be blasting her music, and he'll just be like, everything's about how much. It's about how much better girls are.
Some Nirvana. Yeah, well, I mean, look, everybody, come close to your speakers. We are fucking terrible. We just garbage. We're just the worst, Chris. Like, we really are. We only have millennia to fucking look back on and prove the point. We done fucked up, Ron, and it's time to give somebody else a shot. Just saying.
True, but I don't want him to feel that way, because he didn't fuck up. He hasn't done anything yet. He's just him.
Like, that's just how generations work. Like, it's just your lot in life. Sorry, it sucks. It's unfortunate. It's just,
it is unfortunate. I don't like him to feel that way.
Our boomer relatives bullshit. So, like, you got to feel bad about being a dude sometimes. Sorry.
Or just not be a bad dude. And that's what he doesn't really quite understand yet, is that there's nothing wrong with being a dude. You just have to not be one of the bad ones. And he'll get there. He's got a long road ahead of him. Yeah. But I just thought that was an interesting thing that has come up lately. Like, he has no concept of it, and it's just weird to see occasionally him being just like, yeah, girls are better than boys, and that sucks. Which I'm sure women have dealt with for millennia. It's a whole ball of unfortunate right there.
I'm sure you're going to get to it in week old news, but as MLB The Show announced this week that they were adding girls to the road to the show.
I didn't find that story, but yes, I remember you talking about that, and let's transition to that, because I'm basically done. All right, so let's do this. Yeah. We're going to move on. It is now time for week old news. Dan, kick us off. Talk to me about the internet's reaction to women existing.
No, it was level-headed, nuanced, I think would be the best take for it.
As the internet is wont to be, yes.
As the internet is wont to do. There were so many people just responding like, this is such fucking bullshit. You put a fucking girl in the game and they're not going to be like... There's a bunch of people legitimately posting things about how, because there are going to be women in the game, you won't be able to make them as tall as you make the men. Because, they're girls, and literally every man on the planet is taller than every other woman. There is no woman that is taller than a man, apparently. And in baseball, that matters. Because Jose Altuve is, one, a fucking cunt. But two, he plays for the Astros. I really hate him. Fucking piece of shit. I hate that guy. Fuck Jose Altuve. There, I said it. I'm tired of holding my feelings inside. He's like 5'4", right? So his strike zone is naturally, because of his diminutive wee size, is naturally quite a bit smaller than 6'7" Aaron Judge. He's got a much larger strike zone. He's a much larger human. It's a really interesting subreddit. If you're curious as to what that kind of thing looks like sometimes, same species. Interesting. Don't do it around your kids or your family or anybody who wants to judge you. But there's some interesting shit on there. Anyway, so there were so many dudes complaining of like, oh, these guys, you could make a bunch of fucking girls with the tiny strike zones, and they could be in here hitting 450-foot bombs. This game's so fucking bullshit and unrealistic. It's like, look, you fucking piece of shit sitting at your fucking house playing this game all day with your Diamond Dynasty created ball player named like Big Dongus or whatever, and you made him some fat short fuck who just like, fucking stop it. We're really like, girls like baseball. I don't know if you've ever been to a baseball game. Like, it really, cause I don't, like, I joke about it every now and again, but I really don't like the trope of, like, you're in your mom's basement playing video games, you fucking nerd, blah, blah, whatever. Like, I really don't like, because it's just simply not the case. It's not. Except, apparently it is sometimes. It's like, man, you guys are fucking... there was a ton of people being like super positive, and this is awesome, and my wife loves baseball, and she saw this and was like, ooh, I might do that now. You know, I might give this game a shot, because I can be me in the game. And that's fucking awesome. So there was a lot of positivity going along with it. But man, there was so much negativity just around the unrealistic reality that this would create in the game. It's like, motherfucker, you got Mike Trout and Babe Ruth on your team. we left realism fucking way like 6 exits ago, man. Like, what the fuck are you saying? It just absolutely absurd. Bravo to fucking Sony San Diego for being like, fuck you, we're doing this. I mean, they should really update the graphics, but also, like, bravo to them for doing this. I think it's fucking great.
I was really trying to find a way to fit There's No Crying in Baseball in there, and I just miserably failed. I just dropped the ball.
Yeah. You really did.
I did, and I apologize.
And there's no crying in baseball, Kris.
There's no crying in baseball. I'm sorry.
I really hope it gets to, like... I really hope they include at some point, because they did the Negro League story stuff last year. They're doing a season 2 of that this year. They're also doing a Derek Jeter focus mode, which, I was going to get the game at some point, guys. Like, you didn't have to put a Derek Jeter mode in it. But thank you. I'm pretty excited about that. But I also hope it leads to some sort of acknowledgement of the Women's Professional Baseball League. Like, what the movie A League of Their Own is based off of is not bullshit. Like, that's not a made-up story. And I really kind of like the idea, much in the way that they're doing, like, the making of Karateka and that sort of stuff. I like the idea of the show being a showcase for the history of professional baseball in the United States, because it is so much more than just Major League Baseball. You know what I mean? And I think having that as an interactive... Like, I think the idea of video games as an interactive historical teaching tool is really, really cool and really, really interesting. And I really hope they run with it, and I hope they do it well.
I agree. I think that's pretty neat, especially when you get to sports games that have when the sports have such a rich history, using video games as a way to teach that to the people who are fans, like that's a really neat way of doing things. I do hope that catches on too.
There's just really so much that, like, as sports have gone, the country eventually follows. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's kind of a thing, like, we just finished February and it's Black History Month, and every school around the country teaches about, like, the same fucking 4 or 5 people, Black History Month, and all the kids in the white suburban neighborhoods learn about George Washington Carver and peanut butter, and fucking, which, it's not even the actual story. There's way more to it than that. And fucking Rosa Parks and, like, the same people over and over and over again. Whereas here, you know, the story of Jackie Robinson is a fucking incredible story. And having that content taught through the medium of a video game is, I think, super, super fucking cool. And, you know, I'm really excited to see, like, where that idea goes. Because you're right, you could do it with all of the different sports, you know, as things were integrated, as different, you know, players and teams and athletes from other countries, and, you know, teaching about, like, there's a way to teach about the Cold War conflict with the United States-Russia Olympic game. You know, do you believe in miracles? Yes. Like that fucking, there's ways to get at all of these, you know, socially relevant, important things through this medium. And that, I think, is really fucking neat.
I agree. Popper's looking at me like I owe him something. You okay there, Poppers? You just made, there was some noise over there. Something fell down. What fell down? Let's see. I see what happened. I had something on the edge of the couch that he's currently sleeping on, and he must have shifted and knocked something down. Now he's kind of terrified.
Now he's looking at you like, yo, motherfucker, this shit's haunted. Something in here with us.
That's exactly the face. He's back. he's back laying down now, but
like not happy about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't see him.
I'm gonna lay down, but I'm on guard.
He's on the other couch, so like his head was just poked up over the couch, staring at me like, "Daddy, something is wrong. Something is moved.
Something is very, very wrong. It wasn't supposed to move. There's nobody else here but us two.
There's some unauthorized movement. I'm not okay with it." Oh boy. All right, the next story I don't really want to spend too much time on. A WB Discovery might soon delist over a dozen Adult Swim published games. That is your weekly dose of the video game industry is shit. Thank you, Kotaku, for posting that headline. I don't want to read any more. I'm just saying it out loud because it seems that it's important that every week we place a focus on some sort of terrible thing that somebody in the game industry is doing to fuck everything up.
Well, the important thing about that is to find, and I didn't read the article because I just couldn't bring myself to do it because
I do not want to.
I just don't want to. But the important thing is, are they delisting the games or are they removing them from people's libraries? Which they probably can and might at some point. Right? That is a thing that we have proved can be done. And if they're delisting their games, okay. That is a separate conversation, but maybe not as it's really just in my gut reaction again without reading the article. Because that's what we do now. We don't read the article, we just read headlines. It really doesn't seem to be all that much different from how Nintendo closed the eShop, right? There's certain things, whether they should or shouldn't, is a different conversation, but like to vilify them for following somewhat standard business practices. Now, if they are removing the games from people's libraries, that is a whole other ball of wax.
That doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like this stems from there was an indie dev who posted a tweet that said that Warner Brothers Discovery have informed me that they will be retiring my game Small Radios, Big Televisions from both Steam and PS4 stores. I've made it free to download here. So that was his
That's
well,
awesome.
we're taking your game away. So he said, well, then before it goes away, I've made it free. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
But this did remind me of another story that happened this week. I don't have all the details because I didn't... It's been a rough week, so I didn't do great note-taking on the news stuff, but one of the news stories this week was that Nintendo won their lawsuit. There was a settlement with that emulation thing. And
Yuzu,
yeah.
Is that the one?
And naturally
the Switch emulator.
Yeah, that brought up a whole lot of conversation on the internet, which is, just people, Nintendo evil. They're so anti-consumer and bad, and, there seem to be a lot of stories popping up and be like, well, this was more of a, they were distributing Tears of the Kingdom before it released, and they were selling access to these things. I don't have all the details. But there did certainly seem to be a bit more to it because they settled right quick. And it didn't strike me as a lot of people are like, oh, it's just because Nintendo has infinite money and they were going to run them into the ground. I kind of think these guys were like, yeah, we're in trouble. We probably shouldn't have done that. So let's settle and move on with our lives. Not that they're going to be doing a whole lot of that. It was a lot of money, but
you can't make money off of other people's shit that way. There is the thing that I was concerned with it. And I don't know how much of it is affected by the fact that it went to a settlement. But there is... Sorry, excuse me. It's one of the negative side effects about the Casserole, and I apologize if there have been a lot of mouth noises this evening, but there's, ready? Hold on. Everybody, again, come close. Unzip. There's a lot of saliva production that's happening right now, so it's pretty fucking gross. There is language, there was language in the filing about the nature of emulation. It wasn't specifically aimed just at this emulator. It was at emulation as a whole, that I found troubling because of the precedent that it could set. Now, a Switch emulator, if we're being honest, is about piracy at the moment.
Yes.
Currently. It is not about game preservation. It is, there are, and we had a couple examples come up on the Discord of I would like to be able to play the games that I purchased here or there in a way that is easy and convenient for me. That is not what we are talking about. For the most part, Switch emulation in its current form is about piracy. It is about stealing current games. Just like when I had my PlayStation 2 and I was watching X-Play or Attack of the Show or some such shit, and they showed off this product called the HD Loader. And what it did was allowed you to copy your games, quote-unquote, to a hard drive. And you could just boot them off of the hard drive. And look, it loads faster and, it saves quicker and all of those things. It was about piracy. I worked at a video rental store. New games would come in on a Tuesday. They didn't go out until Friday, but I was playing them all week because I fucking copied them to my hard drive because I had a disc that let me do that. So, you can't charge money for that kind of thing. You can't distribute Tears of the Kingdom on an emulator that you made people pay for and then claim it is anything other than piracy. You fucked that up.
Yeah, the hiding behind the preservation thing, you're not... the vast majority... It just doesn't work now. It's not about preservation. It's about free shit. And then it keeps snowballing to this conversation where there seems to be this perception that I bought this game once. I should be able to play it in perpetuity on all platforms forever for free. And that's simply not the way this works. If I bought a toaster in 1985, I cannot expect that toaster to be toasting toast forever and never have to do any sort of replacement. That's an unreasonable expectation.
Right.
The theory is, I bought this game when it came out on N64. I should be able to play it on every new Nintendo system past the N64 forever for free. I should never have to pay for that game again. I already bought that game. And that's where it comes from. It comes from, I already bought that game. I shouldn't have to buy it again. Well, you bought that game for N64. You didn't buy that game for Nintendo Switch. You didn't buy that game for Nintendo GameCube.
Right.
It's nice when that goes the other direction. It is wonderful when there's some sort of backwards compatibility. That is a great thing. But I don't think I've never thought that it was reasonable to expect that to just be the case, especially with a lot of Nintendo's games over the past couple of decades where they require these weird input devices. I understand that there's like all this emulation that people make on their own, and it works great, and most of the time it works better than the commercially available stuff. But at the same time, there's only so many... I don't want to sound like I'm a Nintendo defender, like, how dare you speak bad to them. I feel this way about anyone. You're doing this with Xbox's games, you're doing it with the PlayStation games, any of that stuff. It is just not reasonable to demand or even expect that every game you buy for every system will be available to you for all time forever. Digital games, that's kind of a different animal, maybe to an extent, but like physical releases, when you buy that game, like you bought it for that platform. It was optimized to run on that platform. There are differences between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 5. There's a reason every PS2 game does not just go right into your PlayStation 5. It's because the systems are built differently. They're run differently, and they don't want you playing these games that were intended to play on this resolution, on this platform, all garbled and messed up and glitchy because the emulation isn't perfect or whatever. There's so many reasons that could go into all this stuff, and it's not... When you buy a game, you don't buy it for every system afterwards. When you buy a game, you buy it on that system that it's for, and it's wonderful when it doesn't work that way. But it's the same thing with a lot of return policies in stores, where it's like, I should be able to buy whatever I want, use it, and then return it, and get all of my money back any time. I bought this toaster, I took it home, I used it for a month, and I don't like the way it toasts, so I'm going to bring it back, open box, crumbs inside of it, and demand all of my money back. No box at all, as a matter of fact. I'm just going to bring the toaster in, I want all of my money back, no receipt, gimme, gimme, gimme. And that's the expectation. There's become this expectation of, I should get whatever I want, and anything outside of that is anti-consumer. I fucking hate that phrase. Anti-consumer. What the fuck does that mean?
There is a lot of shit that is anti-consumer. Like, let's not... there are a lot of practices that... that are bullshit. Like, I would argue that Sony, in particular, has a pretty bad track record on that. Specifically with the PlayStation 3. Of, like, we will sell you one that will play PS2 games, but we're going to charge you more for it, and that one's going to be harder to find. And you can get this other one that doesn't. And that, I thought, was really fucking shitty. I still think it's really fucking shitty. I think it sucks that I cannot put a disc into my fucking PlayStation 5. It sucks that I can't put a PS1 disc in there. And the reason that I argue for that versus Nintendo is because, like, with Nintendo, we're talking about very, very different things. I cannot put a fucking VHS copy of Evil Dead 2 into my DVD player. They are very, very different. Very, very different. Whereas PlayStation 1 to 5 currently, I know we've gone from CDs to DVDs to Blu-rays to all of that stuff, and I know the process, like, I understand all of that stuff, but I would argue that for the vast majority of people, it's a disc. Why can't I put this disc in this thing that plays a disc? It plays this disc. Why won't it play that disc? Whereas I look at my computer, and if I bought a computer today that somehow magically still had a disk drive, but if I get a computer now that has a disk drive, I can put a CD in it that I bought in 1992, and that shit plays just fine. So why does this do it and this other thing doesn't? Like, I see the argument on both sides, right?
But I wouldn't call that anti-consumer, though. Like, the whole thing with the PlayStation 3, for example. That kind of sucks, but that's not anti-consumer. That's like, this one costs more because the only way we could make it play PlayStation 2 games is to literally stuff a PlayStation 2 inside of it. This one doesn't play PS2 games because it doesn't have an actual PS2 inside of it as well. It can do PS1 games because those are CDs. That's a more standard thing. PS2 games were all built on this really proprietary stuff that they were like, well, we're not going to do that anymore because it is very not future-proof. And so
the cell only way processor, was that the PS2?
Was that the cell processor or was that a motion engine? I can't remember. One or the other. But
remember.
It was a very specific thing. Like, there is a legit reason why that PS2 compatible PlayStation 3 was more money, because it cost more money. Like that I don't see how you can view that as anti-consumer. It's like, do you want this to play PlayStation 2 games? Here's the one that does that. And it costs more because it has more in it. Like, charging more for something with more features doesn't seem anti-consumer. It just seems like, here's an option for you. Anti-consumer things... Anti-consumer strikes me as something that is done to go out of the way to make things worse for the buyer. Not necessarily... So, that's why I don't like that phrase.
You're talking more of... You're thinking more along the lines of the producers. We're going to make a fucking show so bad that nobody will come to see it. Like, this is anti-entertainment, and we'll make money because it's so bad off of the insurance. Like, that is more what you're alluding to.
That smells more anti-consumer to me. If anything, they're pro-consumer, right? They want more money. They want all the consumers. They want you to consume as much as you can. Now, if they have shitty business practices, that's one thing. But I think so much stuff gets lumped into shitty business practices because it doesn't make you feel good. Because it doesn't... Well, I don't get more free shit this way. I'm not getting more than I'm paying for this way. Like, Nintendo making Super Mario 3D All-Stars $60 wasn't anti-consumer. It's the pricing that they thought that thing was worth. And if people didn't buy it, then people wouldn't buy it and they wouldn't make that money again. That's not anti-consumer. That's them trying to run a business. There's a difference between things costing money and things being actively anti-consumer. But there's this sentiment right now that anything anyone doesn't like is anti-consumer. Like, it's some sort of personal affront to them that things don't go the way that they want them to.
We've become a very black and white society without the capability to look for, or I don't want to say the capability to understand, but we just don't care about nuance anymore. Like, there's a senator who has a bill on the floor currently in the United States government to deal with what they to deal with what they've termed shrinkflation, right? And I don't know how much you've heard about this, but I don't know when the last time you bought a bag of chips was, Chris. But you're paying the same average price that you've always
for fewer
paid,
chips,
but you're getting way less, and that kind of shit feels anti-consumer, right? Now, is that technically anti-consumer? That's an argument to have, because yes, you're right. Fuck corporations. They want all of our money. No corporation is a good corporation. Like, I love Sony. I love the PlayStation. I love Nintendo. I love the Switch. I love all the things. Fuck big corporations. Like, I have an iPhone. Fuck Apple. You know what I mean? Like, we also can't exist without these gigantic fucking corporations. But so much, I think that sentiment, that anti-consumer sentiment, bleeds over from so much else that is happening in the real world, where now our forms of entertainment are like everything. It's a fucking, like, it's a joke anymore of what things legitimately cost. Like, shit is fucking crazy expensive. Everywhere.
Yes, everything is broken. There's shit. You're not going to get any arguments out of me.
I used to be able to go. Now, this was not all that long ago. My kids are 14, right? They're about to be they're about to be 15. But when we lived in Texas, my kids were like, 5 or 6. We're talking like 10 years ago, sure. But I used to be able to go to Aldi. There was an Aldi around the corner because I didn't make a lot of money when we lived in Texas because it's fucking Texas. They don't pay anybody anything. But I used to be able to go to Aldi and I could do a full grocery shop for a family of 4 with little kids who needed snacks and fruits and vegetables, and not that they don't need them now, but like needed. It's a little bit, your grocery bill is a little bit different when your kids are younger. Like I'm sure you've seen it as John and Ellie have gotten older. Your grocery bill has changed a little bit because you're buying different shit. And kid stuff is always a little bit more expensive because you pay a premium for it, whatever. I used to be able to go to Aldi and do a full grocery shop for a family of 4 for 2 weeks. For about $85, legit. And we had extras and snacks and treats and everything you could need for that 2 weeks. And if I try to do that now, my Aldi bill, not all that much later, for a family of 4, is over $200. That's fucking nuts. And that's going to Aldi or Lidl. Like, that's not going to ShopRite, you know what I mean? Or, God forbid, fucking Wegmans or Whole Foods. Like, that's just going to the budget grocery store, you know what I mean? So, you get all of that, coupled with the fact that we've also conditioned everybody to expect everything to be available all the time. I go on Netflix. Why the fuck isn't the movie I want to watch on Netflix not on Netflix? I want to watch this movie. Why the fuck do I pay for Netflix? I'm going to download it and watch it. Or I'm going to get a fucking NordVPN and watch it in a different country. Like, we've kind of conditioned ourselves to be able to pay a very small amount and have access to these huge libraries of things where it's just going to create this negative conversation. And also, fuck corporations. They are way overcharging everybody. Like, full stop.
Yeah.
There's just no argument against that.
There's not. There's the infinite profits forever is too goddamn much.
It's absurd. I'm going to pull it up right now just because I'm curious. But in Marvel Snap right now, looking at my store, because I told you they were doing that like weird offer thing, where it's like personalized for you. So I currently have personalized for me in the Marvel Snap store a $50 offer. Then there is another bundle that is a Sentinel variant and some other shit, gold and credits and whatever. That's what all of these have. That's $20. Then there is a Shang-Chi bundle that's got a Shang-Chi variant, credits, a spotlight key, a bunch of other stuff. That one is $100. Then there is another bundle that is a card background, gold, credits. That one's $20. Then there is a premium mystery pack for a premium variant, 700 gold, 500 credits. That one's $10. So just adding up and that's just this week. So that's 10, 30, 130, 150, $200 that I am able to spend on. I'm not able to spend it, but there's the offer of $200 worth of cosmetics in this game just for this week. And next week there will be an additional amount of like, when does it fucking stop? That's
it
crazy.
Fucking doesn't.
That's
it is
nuts, man.
I'm 100% with you. It's
$200 worth of cosmetic bullshit.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. And then, oh God, it's just like, fuck, man. That sucks. But infinite profits forever, man.
It's, anyway. Let us move on.
I told you this was a bad idea. This is your fucking, you want to do State of the Gaming, and now we're doing this. I told you.
It's good to see we just got it all out of the way. We're going to be fine. Next one. Next story. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. I love this story. Nintendo Life reports Toyota engineers transform Pokemon Violet's Miraidon into a real-life motorcycle. Like, obviously this is never going to be sold.
It's a horrible idea.
The fact that they're just like, nah, let's make a Miraidon for real. First off, Miraidon, come on, Pokemon.
Yeah.
Some of these names, fuck you.
I mean, also, Jesus, guys. There's a lot of fucking Pokemon characters.
This is so fucking cool. I love it. This is made... it looks awesome. It looks so stupid awesome. Yeah, that's all. I have nothing else to say. I just thought it was neat.
No. Yeah, no. It's very Marge Simpson of you. I just think he's neat. Speaking of things that are neat, Time Extension posts these new Final Fight figures from 52 Toys look ridiculously good, and they do. Have you seen these things? No, I'm about to look at them now because you mentioned toys, so now I'm in.
It's Hagar, Cody, and Guy. They look great.
How much? Toys are fucking expensive now too, man.
They really are. Let's see. There's 3.
Are these Japanese import toys? I don't know about 52
Looks
toys.
like it, yeah. They're going to be... Let's see. The figures will be distributed in China and will be sold for 169 yen each, so about $25 each.
Oh, God, but that's $25 for a G.I. Joe-sized figure.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking money. They look awesome.
They really do.
But 3 3/4 inch scale is G.I. Joe sized.
So $75 to have a fully posable Hagar, Cody, and Guy. That's too much money. But they're so cool. They're really so good cool looking.
Yeah.
No, I love it.
They're really good looking. The Hagar is, they got fucking pinless joints on them too. Like, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah. Chef kiss.
That's pretty crazy. Like, there's definitely some quality there, but that's a lot of money, man. Like, when you think that the McFarlane toys, like the 7-inch McFarlane DC stuff, is $20, you know.
I remember action figures being like $5 for Magneto or something. You know, I remember those being not that much.
Nope. Those days are fucking gone.
Also from Time Extension, fans are remaking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan. This is absolutely wild. Looking at these screenshots, like...
Yeah.
First off, taking that game and pulling out the camera, I don't know if it makes it better or worse. They have such a weird look to them, and it's just the damn Game Boy game, but cleaned up a lot. And they're adding playable Bebop and Rocksteady, like,
which is really cool.
Trailer is just hilarious looking at this in action. What a strange game to fully remake, but like at the same time I get it, because there are a lot of people who played the hell out of this game, because this was Ninja Turtles on Game Boy. This was Ninja Turtles in your pocket that wasn't the shitty LCD games. Like,
no, this was a big fucking deal.
It absolutely was. But like, I'm looking at the foot soldiers, and the proportions are all weird, and their jumps are all bizarre. But like, that's literally they're sprites from the old games. Oh god, this is a great project.
Really
I
cool.
hope it doesn't get killed, because these projects get killed.
I don't
all
think
the time.
it will.
Yeah, I don't think Konami is
will.
really out there looking for this kind of thing. Just wonderful. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done, Internet.
Good stuff.
More stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, this is another friggin' wild one. I don't know if you saw this one. Go Nintendo reports free Android app recreates the Wii menu on your smartphone. Have you seen this thing?
It should not. No.
This is absolutely hilarious. It just turns your phone menu so that it looks like the Wii menu. So it's got these enormous animated icons for everything. The time on the bottom, just like the Wii. I'm utterly fascinated by this. This is just completely insane.
This is one of the times. No. This is one of the times, though, where I'm very happy that when we were making the decision back in the day of are we going to go Android or are we going to go Apple? Like which because once I decide, I'm not fucking going to the other ecosystem.
That's it. It's the end.
It's not a thing I'm going to do. I'm very happy that I went with Apple because for all of the bullshit that Apple doesn't let you do, it also doesn't let you do shit like that. That's going to fucking destroy your phone. Like, I can't tell you how many... Every time I go to my aunt's house, I have to just completely fix her phone. Just every single time. Like, once every month and a half, she has downloaded some app or something that has basically bricked her phone. Now, she's also in her 60s and shouldn't be doing any of this shit, but the fact that Android allows things that can just break your shit completely is... Oh, it's so fucking frustrating. Like, personally offensive and frustrating. So I'm happy that Apple is like, no, we're not going to do that. I see what you're saying, but no.
This last one... well, not last one. There's one last one to talk about after this, but this one here...
Oh, that's so...
Time Extension posted this yesterday, and I'm gobsmacked that I didn't know this existed. Apparently there was a different version of Blaster Master being made for arcades. It was going to be on either the Versus or the Play Choice, and it was slightly different in that the stages were linear. You beat a level, and then it just took you... There was no exploration. It was just, here's a thing, and then once you beat this level, you go to the next one. There's no frog storyline. Each stage begins with a map, where you just kind of see the basic overview of here's what this area looks like, and here's kind of where you're looking for the boss. It's unbelievably fascinating. I've never heard of this before, and there's a link to a video on the Time Extension article that's from friggin' what was this? August 19th, 2021 was when this video got posted. Somebody has I don't think it's a full playthrough. It's like the first 2 areas of this game in action, of this arcade version of Blaster Master. It's got like a top score thing on, and how many credits on the title screen, and then it goes to the car, and then it goes to this map, and once they finish area 1, once they beat the boss, it just goes straight to area 2. Like, I want to play it.
That's cool.
I know it's the same game, but I want to play it. I obviously love Blaster Master, but like, there's a couple other weird things I noticed, like once you get the homing missiles, whatever weapon you have equipped is shown on the corner of the screen, so you can see which sub-weapon you have equipped. The brain is a different color, like the brain boss is orange, while the little orbs that float around it are pink. I am so fascinated by this, and I want to play it, and I want to know why it hasn't resurfaced. I want to know why this... Was this ever released in arcades? Like, it's just listed as a prototype. Like,
I mean, you would have to imagine one of us would have come across it if it had been released.
I mean, it is a
At
fucking
some
play
point.
choice. It's a play choice 10. Who knows where those things were?
Sure.
What I find super interesting is like, so in stage 1, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Stage 1, he's got the regular gun. You don't get the gun after you beat the boss. It just goes to the next stage.
Yeah.
But in the next stage, you have the enhanced gun, which is fucking wild. This is so weird.
Just like here, you're going to need it. You're going to need these kids.
I just want it. I want it now, and I'm sad that I don't have it. And I hope that Sunsoft's doing all kinds of releases. Maybe they'll put this on some sort of collection somewhere. Like, this is
They'll
so
put it
utterly
only on the
fascinating to me.
Evercade, and that will be the reason you have to get one.
It will be if that's how it happens, and that's where I'm going.
Would that be the one? Would that get you to do it?
To get an Evercade? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If this was only on Evercade, yeah, I'd probably wind up buying it. Of course, if it shows up on Evercade, it'll probably wind up getting emulated.
That's fair.
This is just so weird. Like, where did this guy get this footage from? This is so weird, because there's comments are turned off, and it's an account that has exactly 6 subscribers. And this video only has 560 views.
Well,
I've never heard of this before. So weird.
What's kind of wild about it is, and I kind of like it. It's also very frustrating, but I kind of like the idea that this could be bullshit. This could be a dude who really likes fucking Blaster Master being like, "Oh, look what I found," you know, and he's just doing this now. Like, this is a new thing. That is just as possible as anything else. And that's kind of cool. Frustrating, but also kind of cool.
I'm starting to see if there's
sometimes
any...
the internet is not a terrible place.
Seeing if there's any other information I can find on this. It's just that one thing from 2021. Rare unreleased prototype of Blaster Master Play Choice 10. This is interesting.
I mean, it
This
does
is
sound like a thing that they would have done at the time. Blaster Master was pretty popular. They put a lot of weird shit on the Play Choice 10.
See, this has a Play Choice 10 cart for Blaster Master on eBay, but the title screen doesn't have that score on it. It's just but it's got this interesting description up here on the top. I wonder if this is what is the deal with this? Was never available. This cart was designed to work with all BIOS. Cart will display the correct Blaster Master title in the main menu. Those are infected. Oh, so this is some sort of like... Oh, this is a new build. Okay, so this isn't the prototype thing. I want to learn more about this. So this is a ROM hack
of the prototype?
Kinda?
That's fun.
That's weird. Well, that's a fascinating story.
It is.
As a Blaster Master fan, if this is a fake, then it's a really impressive one, and it's a very strange thing to fake.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Okay, so now, here we go. That video that I was looking at was that small channel. This is from a Japanese channel that posted this 10 years ago. Same footage. This was from a decade ago. And it is...
Okay. Kind of poo-poos my theory.
Yeah, what does this description say? See, this has over 7,000 views. And translate this for me. What do you say?
I'm not looking at it. Sorry.
Arcade version of FC Super Planet Senki Metafight. Like an arcade, it's a map with roughly one straight road. It is tailored to emphasize action, up to 2 pages of video. Fucking fascinating.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, I love this. I love that I can still discover this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
yeah, I would love to play this version of the game. With this weird little maps. It's such a weird thing with these maps, too, because they're not detailed at all. It's just like, here's the 2 backgrounds and kind of the general shape of this area. And then a little small icon for the boss of more or less where you would find it. Really, really interesting stuff. Absolutely love it. All right, that's
Neat.
fun. Far less fun is this very sad story. Akira Toriyama has passed away at age 68.
Which is way too fucking young.
It really is.
Way too young.
One of the most influential... God, just one of the most straight-up influential artists of the last century. Like...
I don't think it's hyperbole. I really honestly don't.
I don't either. Dragon Ball is...
To say,
his work is referenced everywhere.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that without Akira Toriyama, that anime does not reach the massive heights that it has worldwide. I just don't think it does.
I can agree with that.
Like, the Dragon Ball Z has the influence that Dragon Ball Z alone has had is just absurd.
It's monumental. It's referenced in so many things, and so many people's art styles have come from Toriyama's art style. Like, it's been derivative of what he has done. And then there's Dragon Quest, arguably one of the most important and influential video games ever. That series is instrumental to where the industry is now. It can't be overstated how important this guy's contributions to the world have been. And no, not everything he ever did was perfect. He doesn't have women have not exactly been portrayed well in early Dragon Ball, but you can also point to the growth. There's been a lot of growth.
There's been some questionable Mr. Popo like shit over the years where it's like, man, fucking, I know that maybe wasn't a thing in Japan, but boy, that's not fucking cool.
There's some questionable choices for sure. For sure. I've seen a lot of talk about the Mr. Popo design in particular was more based on genies than it just also happened to be that here in North America there was a lot of there was that. But
to be fair, real quick, when I lived in Texas, the second place I lived, Corpus Christi, the neighboring town was I think it's Robstown. I think is what it's called. It's Robstown or Robbinsville. Think Robstown. Because everybody cared about high school football down there, right? So everybody talking, you meet people, you talk to people. Like, oh, you're going to the fucking football game this week? No, I'm not going to the fucking high school football. Shut up. I don't care. They're children. This is dumb. But Robstown, which is southeastern Texas, today, it's 2024, Chris. Their team nickname, right? Every school has a nickname. Your kid's school is the whatever, and my kid's school is the fucking, your mother's, and whatever the case was. Where I lived in Corpus Christi, the high school team was the Bears. This town, their nickname is the Cotton Pickers.
Ooh.
And
that's a choice.
And I mentioned that to somebody, to this dude Tony that I met who lived next door to me, and I was like, Tony, that's fucking wild that is the name of a high school team, and they play at Cotton Picker Stadium, which is a fucking thing. And I was like, dude, that's like really not okay. And this fucking grown ass man looked at me and legitimately asked me why it wasn't okay. And I went, I don't think I can talk to you anymore. It's why? Okay. But the connotation for them down there has been not taught intentionally, but is just completely different. So, this is why I'm saying perhaps Mr. Popo, like you said, is based more off of a djinn or a genie type look, but still, like, and that motherfucker was badass. Like, don't get me wrong, Mr. Popo was great. Like, he's a fucking cool character, and he whooped Goku's ass a bunch of times, and like, he was just handling little fucking kids, but still a bit questionable.
Yeah, but regardless of those few questionable things, Toriyama's work has been amazing. It's Dragon Ball is one of my favorite things in the history of entertainment, and Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite games in the history of mankind.
The influence is undeniable, and it is a massive loss.
Yeah, that hit me hard. Very sad.
A massive loss. Yeah.
And with that, we're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we are going to address the state of the gaming union with all of the platform holders and see how they're doing, what's cooking in their worlds, and then we're going to go to bed. You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from geekade.com. Yeah. Stick around. Hi everyone, Kris here. Podcast listening is free, but podcast creation is not. That's why the Geekade Patreon exists. In an effort to help us pay the bills, we've got a Patreon page set up where you can gain access to our monthly podcast topic schedule, get early access to many of our shows, and more. If you'd like to help support Geekade and keep these shows running week after week, head over to the Geekade Patreon page, linked in the show notes of this very podcast.
We are Safe at Home, the leading dog rescue in the heart of New Jersey. Are you searching for a loyal companion, a dog that will bring love and joy to your home? Look no further than Safe at Home. At Safe at Home, we believe in giving every dog a second chance. We rescue, rehabilitate, and find loving forever homes for dogs in need, right here in the Garden State. Our dogs are ready to make a lasting impact on your life. Each one has a unique story, a wagging tail, and an incredible capacity for love. When you adopt from Safe at Home, you're not just gaining a pet, you're becoming a part of our family. Our dedicated team ensures a seamless adoption process, providing ongoing support and guidance. With New Jersey's beautiful parks, beaches, and trails, you and your new furry friend will have endless opportunities for adventures and cherished memories. Safe at Home relies on the support of compassionate individuals like you. Your donations and volunteer work enable us to continue saving lives and finding forever homes for these amazing dogs. Join us in creating a safer, happier community for dogs in New Jersey. Together we can make a difference and give every dog the chance to feel safe at home. Visit our website or call us now to learn about how you can be a part of the Safe at Home mission. Safe at Home, because every dog deserves to be loved and protected. www.safeathomerescue.org. I know that's
Welcome back, everybody.
Fucking indicator. Yeah.
Welcome back. It is time for the Gaming State of the Union, the Stone Age Gamer State of the Union. We're going to talk about how the various platform holders in the universe of video games are doing, where we think they're going, where we think they've been, where we think they are, why we think they are. Other prepositions, I guess.
Nintendo is in
the right
Sweden.
Word?
I don't know why.
It's entirely possible.
That's where I think they've been. I think they've been in Sweden.
I think the best place to start is with Intellivision.
Right, take it back, Kris. I'm not okay. Not.
You still can't buy the Amico. The end. Moving on.
Yeah. I wish you could. I really, honestly wish you could. I do.
I wish you could too. I wish the Intellivision name wasn't being dragged through the mud, the dirt, and so on and so forth. But here we are.
The muck and the mire.
Both of those words, muck and mire. Gross. Anyways, moving on to a technical platform holder, Atari. They have a current platform on the market right now, so we can talk about them a little bit, and they are doing pretty well. I
think it's really cool what Atari's doing.
I do too. I think it's really neat that there is a company out there that understands its place in the industry. Like, we're gonna do what we can do. What can we focus on that we're good at, and then do that. I think that's a really fun thing to see. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be such a novel thing.
It shouldn't be. Definitely not. But the fact that there is a viable Atari platform that people seem to really like.
Yeah, the
like if you're into those style of games like that, not to beat a dead horse, but like that's what the Amico was kind of trying to capture, like that arcadey, family friendly. That's the fucking Atari right now.
Yeah, the Atari VCS has got a lot of easy to play, difficult to master kinds of things on it. It's a fun little platform, and there was just an interview with CEO Wade Rosen last week, I think, or so, where he was just talking about what's going on with the purchases that they've recently made. They've acquired a couple of companies, and they're like, this is as far as we're going with it. They were doing a lot of comparisons to like the mess that is the Embracer Group right now. Like, it's all about making smart choices with companies that they believe in, and Night Dive was the one of their big ones recently, and they're like, that just on a fundamental level, this company's philosophy aligns with what we want to be. So teaming up with them seemed like a smart move. It wasn't like the Activision Blizzard situation where it's just like, well, if we own them, then we make all their money.
Gimme! Yeah.
This is more of like if we align our philosophies, we work together and we can do cooler things. And I like that. I like that a lot. Obviously, there's, business reasons behind it. The purpose is to make money, but the purpose is to make more money for everyone, not make more money for shareholders at the expense of every human involved. Which it's the kind of thing you like to see. So I think Atari's doing pretty well for itself.
Yeah, no, I think it's really, really cool.
Huh. You gotta like it. I guess before I move forward, I should address the fact that this isn't the topic that we were supposed to be doing this week. I meant to address the top of the show. We were gonna do the the Super NES versus Game Boy Advance. But I meant to mention while I was talking about all the work I was doing this week, I was doing a lot of work this week, and I simply did not have the time to properly prepare for that. Because that's the thing that's going to require some actual prep time. It's not something I want to gloss over. It's something I want to take seriously. And that's going to require some prep time on my part, which I didn't have this week. So it just so happened to be the State of the Union, the actual United States State of the Union. Oh, God. Sorry, I had a cooking video on in the background. Everything was going fine, and then they dumped a bunch of canned green beans into this mix, and I was like, canned green... get that
I don't
filth.
like green beans at the best of times.
Exactly. Get that filth out of here.
Canned green beans especially.
God.
Like, when it's the holidays, and it's like, green bean casserole? Like, fuck Just fuck you.
You can enjoy it, but you get that away from me. You get that out of my house.
You can't enjoy it. I can't enjoy my food if that's fucking near me. It's disgusting.
It's a valid point, valid concern.
I could put up with a lot of shit, but fucking green bean casserole is a bridge too far. No, it's fine. We put the little French's onions on top. Like, did you? Good. That makes it so much better, you monsters. You fucking deplorable humans. Get out of here.
But anyway, we will get to the Game Boy Advance Super Nintendo conversation soon. This week was not the week for it. Everything fell apart this week. It was a rough week. I needed something that was easy, and
this
State
is
of the Union was.
Do.
That is this thing we do.
This
we
is
do
the
the
thing
State
we
of the
do
Union thing.
when the State of the Union, and we do the State of the Union.
Yeah, here we are.
It's a thing.
So moving on to the big three, we'll talk about Xbox, since I think that's probably the one we have the least to say about. Xbox is in a weird position. They, as far as the company is concerned, they seem to be, they just got through their giant Activision Blizzard purchase, and they own like a sizable chunk of the gaming industry.
Yeah.
I can't say nobody seems to like Xbox. The brand, I think, is doing okay, whereas the platform isn't, which is a really weird position to be in, I think. But it's also it also seems to be becoming obvious to them that their plan is less sustainable than they had hoped. Which I've always been
they are
curious about it.
Losing money. Just
which
hand
is
over
so
fist.
weird.
They are actively losing money. Well, and what's
it seems so obvious to me that would be the case, right? With Game Pass, it seems so obvious out of the gate. Like, how are you going to make enough money off of this unless you get just an absolutely obscene amount of subscribers, which is
the
probably not going to happen.
It would just have to be through the fucking
You would
roof.
have to be recapturing Xbox 360 numbers, and with as strong as the PlayStation's been, I didn't see how that was ever going to happen. But I don't run a multi-billion-dollar corporation, so what do I know?
No, sure. We are fucking Schmucky the Clown. What I think is interesting about where the Xbox is that it feels like a lot of their big franchises, and maybe I am wrong because I don't own the system, but it feels like a lot of their big tentpole franchises, the Halo, the Gears of War, that sort of stuff has been disappointing over the last couple of releases, to where the hype has gone to the point of where, like, yeah, it's good, it's good, it's a fun game, like, it's fine, but it's not the levels of, like, you have an Xbox because of these exclusives. That just doesn't feel like it's the case currently, which
I feel like
is
they
a
almost
shame.
don't
The
even
gaming
have
industry
an identity anymore. Like, I feel like it's hard to identify. They're not really defined by those games anymore. Like, you don't look at, like, you look at Nintendo and like Mario and Zelda and Pokemon.
Yeah.
You look at PlayStation, you think big AAA God of War type of stuff. I don't know
Last
what
of
Xbox's
Us,
identity is. I feel like their identity is just video games. It did used to be.
It was the shooter system.
It was the shooter system. It was the big tech system. It was, we are the most tech forward, power forward of the three, and everybody had their own focuses. And Microsoft just kind of stopped being that. They made the big claims about the Xbox Series being the most powerful system on the market, and it doesn't seem to be. That doesn't really seem to be coming through in their actual games with comparing performance to the PlayStation 5. So I don't know. They just seem like a company without an identity,
rudderless. Yeah,
exactly. I don't know where they're going,
which is a shame.
I don't know what their purpose is. What is their purpose in this industry right now, other than, like, what are they bringing to the market other than a place to play the games? Like, they're the VCR of the gaming industry right now, but they can't play all of the most important games, which are the exclusive things that Sony and Nintendo are making. Like, they just they had a niche carved out for themselves, around Xbox 360, but following that generation, after the PS3 overtook them, I feel like they can't get their feet underneath them, and they can't seem to prove, at least to me, and generally seems to be a large swath of the public with each of these last two generations, they don't really seem to have enough of an identity to convince enough people to buy their systems anymore. Or even just justify their presence in the industry as a platform holder. I look at Atari and I see what the purpose of them being a platform holder is. It's not a great one. And then Wade Rosen said in the recent interview that if they were faced with making the VCS now, they probably wouldn't. But since it's a thing that exists, it's their responsibility to support it, and they're going to as long as they can. I understand their purpose in the industry right now. I don't get Microsoft as a brand, what their purpose is. Even the games that they're funding, like Ori and Cuphead and things like that come out of these many, 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 many studios that they have bought left and right. They don't seem to have any sort of unifying identity. And I think that I think that's what's hurting them the most.
I just pulled up an article on Games Radar, and this was updated on February 12th of 2024. Okay, these are the best, according to Games Radar, Xbox exclusives that you should play. And I want to read you this list and see what you notice about it. Okay, so from 15 to 1. All right. Hi-Fi Rush, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Pentiment, Quantum Break, Halo the Master Chief Collection, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Sunset Overdrive, Forza Motorsport 7, Halo Infinite, Gears 5, Forza Horizon 5, Grounded, Starfield, Psychonauts 2, and Sea of Thieves. Half of that list is no longer going to be exclusive.
That's true. That's true.
Sea of Thieves, Psychonauts 2 is not. Grounded, Ori, a fucking Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush. All of those are going to be, or already are on other systems. Flight Simulator is awesome. It's fucking super cool. I love Flight Simulator. I have loved Flight Simulator since I was like 6 years old and had my first fucking DOS computer in my bedroom and was fucking terrible and could never land the plane and whatever. But that does not justify a platform. The Master Chief Collection, which is a collection of old games, 2 racing games, another Halo game, Gears 5, like, to your point, that's not enough. That's like not going to do. And that really, honestly, we pile on Xbox a lot on this show. Mostly it's a joke. Because we do want them to be a major player. It's better for everybody. As opposed to
if you're going to be in if you're going to be in the industry, then you should be here for a reason. And when they first got in, this industry has been typically a 2-horse race for a very long time. Like there's been a third competitor a number of times, but it's rarely worked out when there was an actual third competitor around. TurboGrafx was barely a blip on the radar. Atari 2600, ColecoVision, and Intellivision, like it was a different kind of a race. It was a different kind of animal. The Dreamcast, once Sony entered the market, Sega, there wasn't room for Sega anymore. And then I suppose there could have been, but not under that management. And then then Xbox came in and they had that identity to offer, and I just don't know what their purpose is right now. I just don't. Which is weird. Yeah. It's a strange position for them to be in. And I wonder what their reasoning is for staying in the video game hardware business. Like what is their ultimate goal if they could theoretically be making more money by not being in the hardware business? I don't understand Microsoft right now. Just don't. But
yeah, there was an article put up on there's an article put up on IGN yesterday. Microsoft will be debating right now whether Xbox consoles have a future, says Peter Moore. Peter Moore, for those of you who don't know, is the guy who used to run Xbox.
Yeah, so he has a pretty decent insight into what they're probably thinking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a weird place for them to be.
Yeah. Well, that's the state of Xbox, according to us right now. Weird. The state of Xbox is weird. Let us move on to the great Sony of PlayStation and Walkman fame, and nothing else.
That's it.
The PlayStation brand right now. As our resident PlayStation expert, what do you feel the state of PlayStation is right now?
Honestly, I think it is the best it's ever been. Like, honestly, truly, the PlayStation 5, for being an ugly fucking console, it is a disgusting looking machine to look at. But I kind of love it for that reason, especially with the other plates on it. There are so many reasons to play on a PlayStation versus the other systems. And we're going to say the same thing about Nintendo in a minute as well. But if you are looking for story-driven, single-player, fucking big, epic action games, Sony is where you need to be. If you are looking for online multiplayer shooter games, the just ungodly success of Helldivers 2, PlayStation is where you want to be for that. If you are looking for indie games, there are very few indie games that come out for other systems that do not make their way to PlayStation. Like, they really have become the default, like, something for everybody console. It also happens to help that their last couple of big tentpole games have been exceptional. You know, God of War Ragnarok was absolutely incredible game. Spider-Man 2, absolutely incredible game. Horizon Forbidden West, fucking just incredible. If you like those types of games, right? If you're not into those types of games, obviously, if you're, you know, if you fall to the Nintendo side of it, sure, you can make that argument, but you cannot deny the quality, right, of what has been put out. And with what appears to be coming down the pike with how they've, you know, positioned themselves with this new Wolverine game coming out, like, that's a crazy thing to look forward to. There will be more exclusives announced that make you feel good about owning a PlayStation, right? Because I get to play most of the other shit that I want to play, plus I get to play all of these really awesome games. They have done some shit that I don't love, you know, laying off the amount of people that they laid off a week ago. Mm-hmm. Sucks. It fucking sucks. It really, really does. Because there just doesn't seem to be a reason for it. You know, like, at least when Microsoft laid off all the people it laid off, you could argue there were redundancies between the companies that were purchased. You know, like, I bought these giant corporations and merged them with my giant corporations. We've got similar positions across the board. We're not going to pay two people to do one person job. So while it sucks that people lost their job, there at least was a logical path, I think, that was followed to get to that point. Even though I 100% disagree with it. You know, buy a company and fire people. That's fucked up. With Sony, that's just not the case. There really didn't seem to be a reason. I do think they are in, as strong as they are currently, I do think there is some danger with this consistent push to have these gigantic, massive AAA expensive fucking games. Like the attachment rate that you then have to sell or get to turn a profit on these gigantic fucking things. They just don't all have to be that. As great as Spider-Man 2 is, that game, not every game that Sony puts out has to be Spider-Man 2. You know,
well, I think there
are other things. Give me the new Sly Cooper.
That's where the problem comes in,
Cooper?
Right? That's where this layoffs come from, is that, and this is why I don't necessarily agree that I think that the state of PlayStation is better than ever, because I think what they're realizing now is that their current strategy is not sustainable, because their current strategy has been, by and large, I know we talked about this recently, where there are a few projects like Astro's Playroom, but by and large, their thing is the massive AAA single player experience. And those games are so unbelievably expensive, but their focus has been 85% at least just to that. Whereas if you look back to, I think if you say better than ever, when I think where was PlayStation at the actual apex, for me was PlayStation 2, because that was a system with something for everybody. That system had everything on it. That system made me buy it. Whereas the last two generations of PlayStations have not convinced me to buy it. Oh, I'm also tired. But like, that was the thing. I was a genuine PlayStation fan. I bought a PlayStation because I was sick of my N64, and I loved that system to death. And I loved my PlayStation 2 eventually. I didn't love it at launch, but I came to love that system. And I rather enjoyed my PlayStation 3. Not nearly as much as those other two systems, but I did rather enjoy it.
Sure.
But it's been two generations where there hasn't been enough of a reason for me to go out of my way to buy that system, because that one kind of game that they really focus on stopped being, and that started to be their primary identity. And that's where those layoffs came from. It's like they put all this money into this, and it's like, you need to figure out better balance. To your point, where's your Sly Coopers? Where are your smaller budget games? You know, they don't all have to.
Where's the parappa of the rappers? Where are the, you know, the weird shit that Sony used to do? Tokyo
where
Jungle,
is
fucking
more
Incredible Crisis, Jumping Flash, the creativity behind a lot of these things, or even things like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. You know, I would argue that those would qualify as somewhat double A.
Yeah, they're more
they're
artsy
big and they're
kinds of things.
But,
that was a big chunk of what PlayStation became known for around the PlayStation 3, was having those artsy things like Flow and Flower and stuff.
And Flower and Journey.
And Journey, exactly. I would like to see, I want to see them return to that. I want to, something that they learned when they launched the PlayStation 3 was that they need to keep their hubris in check. Right. And then once they got that figured out with the PlayStation 3, they overtook Xbox 360 and won that generation. But then PS4 was a runaway success. And then PS5 was pure hubris. Now, granted, they've earned it, but you can't keep, eventually you're going to run into that wall again, where it's just like, you cannot just come out of the gate being like, we are simply the best there is. You have no choice but
just
to love us.
Swinging your dick around.
Exactly. Yeah. You cannot come out there just swinging your dick around, because eventually you're going to run into these walls where there's only so much expansion you can do on this one avenue. And Sony has proven through previous generations that they're capable of bringing some truly creative stuff to market. Not everything needs to be the giant blockbuster. And I'm hoping that they're moving towards that right now. So I would personally say that the state of PlayStation is very good, but there's room for improvement, and I want to see them moving in that direction. And I think that they will. You know, they're not in any sort of
I don't think they have a choice.
Yeah, they definitely don't have a choice, but I also don't think they're in a position to be in, like, they're not in Microsoft's position right now because they do at least still have an identity. You know, they are I lost it. Sorry. Too tired. Lost the word. They are a force in the industry that cannot be removed at this point. They are an indispensable part of the gaming industry. There it is. They have effectively filled the Nintendo versus Sega. They're now the Sega, you know, since Sega is not a platform holder anymore.
Yeah.
So state of PlayStation is good. State of play is solid. Room for improvement, but then again, that's what we live for, right? We live to see what's coming next. How are you going to do it better?
Yeah.
Let's see it happen. Drop the hubris. Be good. What else you got? And that just leaves Nintendo, which is probably in the most interesting position of all right now because they're getting ready for their next generation. We've still got a little ways to go on Sony and Xbox for their next gen stuff. Right. But Nintendo is about ready to crank out some sort of Switch 2, we hope. Probably early next year. And that's an interesting position for them to be in.
It is. I think they are in the most precarious position right now.
Oh, yeah.
Just knowing the way Nintendo does things, they like, don't fuck this up, guys.
They could follow if they follow up Switch with a Super Nintendo. You know, if they do an NES to Super NES approach, we're in good hands. If they do a Super Nintendo to N64 approach, that's a different story. You know, GameCube to Wii, that's even a different story. That's a whole other animal. They haven't been in a position like this in a long time where they have a system that, in fact, since the Super Nintendo, I don't think they've been in a position like this since Super NES where they've had a platform that both sells hardware and software. They just haven't.
Yeah.
And being this long into the Switch's life, where it's still such a healthy ecosystem where games and hardware are still consistently selling, is a pretty unique thing for them. Like, we're looking at PlayStation levels of success right now, which is not something Nintendo has had in a long time. Outside of the handheld space, and even that is just such a different animal. Like
it is,
yeah. And the Wii, for as many consoles as sold, we've said in the past that system didn't do great for the vast majority of software. Like, this is their healthiest ecosystem. So seeing how they're going to follow this up is going to be a very interesting story to watch. The way they're filling their release schedule right now is pretty interesting. They still have a ton of indie games. We just had that third-party showcase, which had a bunch of very decent stuff in it. And they've still got they're throwing a bunch of remakes our way, which makes sense this late in the game. New games they're probably holding on to for their next platform. So a good way.
You would hope.
God, I would hope so. A good way to keep Switch owners happy is to hit them with some games they either have a lot of nostalgia for or have never had the opportunity to play before. We're going to get an HD version of Luigi's Mansion 2, which is Luigi's Mansion 3 was a massive success. So that's a smart move. We're going to get Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, which is a game that has become somewhat legendary, but also incredibly difficult to play because it's never been released digitally before. It's a GameCube game, so unless you have a GameCube and a copy of that stupid expensive game at this point, you've probably never played Thousand Year Door. So there's some good stuff coming out. And they're also hitting up some of the weird shit. We're getting a friggin' new Endless Ocean game. Of all things.
Which is wild.
Sure, go nuts. Bring it on. Bring on the stupid. That's what I'm saying. And that's really where I think their biggest missed opportunity this generation has been, is playing it a little bit too safe. They've done marvelous things with their big properties. I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Wonder, Metroid Dread. They've done, with some of their biggest names, some of the best iterations of those games in their entire histories, which is you just love to see it. But we've also seen so few weird projects from Nintendo this generation, which is, it hasn't been missed as much because of how prolific indies have been on the platform, which have just been absolutely massive. But at the same time, like, where's our Box Boy? Where's our Sakura Samurai? Or even where's our Kid Icarus? Where's our Punch Outs? Where's our Star Tropics? Rhythm Heaven? We got 2 WarioWare games this generation. Exactly. Where is F-Zero beyond F-Zero 99?
Yeah.
This generation
I think you're right.
was the perfect time to do that. There has been a lot of safe. Yeah, this was the generation to go out on a limb. You've got a huge ecosystem where games like Pikmin and WarioWare are selling better than they have previously. You put out friggin' another remakes of Famicom Detective Club and another Code, and that's been great. That's wonderful to see. I love that. But I want more of more of Weird Nintendo.
You have to imagine this caught them somewhat by surprise.
Oh, this level of success? I absolutely.
Yeah.
And coming off of their last couple of generations. Like, I
coming
know
off of the Wii and the Wii U.
For sure. They knew they had a hit.
Sure.
When they showed that first Switch trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were not the only ones to shit on it, though.
No, but they also...
that first Switch trailer, like,
it was 50-50, you know. We had moments. It had some questionable moments, but it was by and large, people almost immediately were like, yeah, all right, fuck the Wii U. This is it. This is what we've wanted. Let's see this work out. So they kind of knew they had a hit, but probably not to this extent. No way.
Yeah. So it kind of makes some sense where, you know, it's like, well, let's keep the money train rolling, as it were, you know, and if something weird gets big enough on Steam, we'll pull it over, you know, like Dave the Diver. Dave the Diver feels like a very Nintendo type thing, but it was a Steam thing, you know, which is where all of the weird, interesting stuff seems to be happening and then getting ported over to the other systems. I do think, man, because I wonder, because we were talking about it last week, right? Of even this far into the PlayStation's life cycle, because we're now, 5 years into the PS5? 4 years? 4.5? 5? I don't fucking know. We're not one. You know, like the PlayStation 5 is not a brand new system anymore.
Right.
But we are still making games for PS5 and PS4. Right. There are PS5 exclusive games, but the vast majority of them are PS4, PS5. So there is a certain amount of holding back that has to be done so that it can run on the older hardware. And it will be interesting to see the direction that Nintendo goes with that. Of, you know, because they've done it very sporadically with the last 2 generations of The Legend of Zelda being released for both the old system and the new system. Right? But that's really like the only one. Now, a lot of that probably has to do with the wackadoo fucking control scheme that has changed so dramatically from console to console. But, you know, is Metroid Prime 4 going to be the last big Switch release, but a launch title for the Switch 2? You know, do they keep that kind of thing going? Or are they going to push everything to the Switch 2 because it's not going to be a Switch 2, it's going to be the Nintendo whatever the fuck, and it's not going to be compatible with anything with the Switch? Which I can't imagine. I can't imagine that. How bad would that fuck them up? To
have no backwards compatibility, yeah, that would be a
disaster, right?
That would be a tragedy. That would be a disaster, no question. And it wasn't back in the NES to Super NES days, but if they had that backwards compatibility from NES to Super NES, the Genesis race probably would have been a lot tighter. You know, because they pulled ahead pretty early, and they pulled ahead hard when they hit Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, if they had the Super Nintendo backwards compatible with the full NES library, I think that would have meant a lot to people. But yeah, who can say for sure?
Just going back to what you said earlier tonight about that expectation of like, I bought this game, I should get to play it. Maybe not forever, but probably on the next system at least. Like I should be able to pop in my cartridge of. I think
it's a little bit different
Tears
now.
of the Kingdom.
I do think it's a little bit different now because games are made in a much more standardized way. You think back to like N64, PlayStation 1, things were so much more proprietary to like, this is how this system runs games, because Saturn games didn't look like PlayStation games and they didn't look like N64 games. Super Nintendo games didn't look like Genesis games because they were fundamentally different systems. Things have become so much more standardized now. You can't look at an Xbox One game versus a PlayStation 4 game and immediately say that's a PlayStation game, or listen to the sound that comes out of them and say, oh, that's definitely that.
Can.
It's just it just doesn't work that way.
Left, right, and center. Well, and even the controllers have been somewhat streamlined. Like Nintendo still has some of the wackadoo stuff with the Wii, with the Joy-Cons.
The Joy-Cons, right?
But for the most part,
you can play just about every game on Switch with your Pro controller.
Yeah,
and that was a smart way to do it.
It really was. Like the Wario games, you gotta fucking waggle them and whatever. But that's a very specific instance. Whereas, even looking so far back as to like the N64, like that was just, what are we doing? How do we get this over to another system, or something from another system over to whatever the fuck this is?
Right.
Yeah,
I do believe that with each generation, Nintendo thought that what they were doing was going to become the standard. When they moved the buttons around, the face buttons around the GameCube controller, they thought that was going to become the standard. There was going to be a big button and a bunch of small buttons. But it wasn't.
This button does all the things, and then these ones kind of do some stuff. Yeah,
these look like
I don't know.
Beans.
I really think they are in such an interesting but very, very dangerous position, knowing how Nintendo sometimes Nintendos.
Right. They are in. They could fuck this up so hard, but they could also.
I really hope they don't.
They could knock it out of the park. They could just iterate. If they just iterate the Switch, make that thing, streamline it, make the Joy-Cons way higher quality. Get no Joy-Con drift. Stop that nonsense. Make them better. Make them work better. Make the screen nicer and make the system more powerful. Do that kind of classic iteration, and make it backwards compatible. You have got it in the fucking bank. Release Mario Kart 9 exclusively for that, and you're on your way. There it is.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
State of Nintendo, shockingly similar to Sony, except for very different reasons.
Yeah. In a good but very dangerous place.
Exactly. Well, that's the state of gaming.
And Steam,
and that's
who the fuck knows?
Who knows? Steam is forever. Computers are forever, and they will always have games, and they will always be weird.
Yeah.
And that's all I've got.
That's it.
That's it. That's the show. That is our show. That's the state of gaming. Things are going
3
okay.
hours this week.
Not so bad. Join us next time.
Games, great. People, awful.
Awful.
Like
a
the
great
industry,
time.
terrible. The actual games, amazing.
Quite good stuff, except for the weird focus on live services all over the place. Fucking Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
We're doubling down on live services. Our last 4 games that were live services have failed miserably. But we're doubling down on it because we know what we're doing.
That's right.
Fucking Warner Brothers.
We're going to figure out the one.
We're going to hire Zack Snyder. It's going to be great. Anyways, that's our show. Join us next time for the Alphabet Super Series. We're going to be talking about the Karate Kid for NES. All-time classic right there.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love that LJN logo. You're welcome, everybody.
I have thoughts.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure I will too once I get around to playing it this week. But that is it. Be sure to play that game so you can listen to us talk about it and you can know what we're talking about, because there's a lot to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big game. It's massive. Oh, for
about
sake. We're on most social media
minutes.
platforms. If you want to get in touch with us, we are very difficult to find. All it takes is a quick look at our show notes, and you'll see links to our social media accounts, as well as all manner of other fun stuff, like a link to our namesake, StoneAgeGamer.com, and more useful links than you can shake a joystick at. If you'd like to get early access to this show's episodes, as well as a bevy of other shows on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out our Patreon, also linked to in the show notes. It helps keep the show running week after week, and all our patrons are loved and appreciated. This show's theme song, Squared Roots, was written by Banjo Guy Ali. You can learn all about you can learn all about his wonderful music and more by following a link to his YouTube channel, also in the show notes. And a quick note to our YouTube listeners. I am sorry I haven't uploaded the show on YouTube for the last 2 weeks because I just fucking forgot, and I suck, and I apologize. I will get those up this weekend. I will do my best. And finally, as always, we'd like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for making the show listenable for all you folks, and we'd like to thank all you folks for listening in the first place. That is it, everybody. On behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.